up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Apex, the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, the boys have made it home safely from New Orleans. The tournament is up. The Open is in the books, and there's a ton to get to here. We've got a lot to talk about here. Obviously, the tournament itself, the format, all the different teams, the surprises, some of the bus, all of that, and then just us meeting up together, having a fun time out there in New Orleans, meeting some of the listeners. Awesome stuff all the way around. But first, boys, I feel like we got to kick it off. Falcons, the super team, has finally fulfilled the prophecy. Falcons are your champions for the ALGS Open. It was a hell of a run, and it looked like for a second there that it was about to be catastrophic, but they found a way to fight back. Falcons are your winners. Hal is your MVP. And I think a lot of people, maybe when Falcons had first formed, would think that this was going to be a regular occurrence. There was a lot of trials and tribulations with this Falcons squad. Even leading up to this specific event, there was a lot of things that were going on. But Falcons were finally able to hoist the trophy, which, by the way, that new trophy, badass. I love that concept where all three can hold it up. Really wish Phony would have had that opportunity back a few splits ago. But Falcons are your champions.
I actually heard that they considered short people, and that's why they made this new trophy that splits in three.
Appreciate them. I really appreciate them for that. Shout out to them for that. But ladies and gents, those are your winners. Falcons are the champions. Jumbo, I'll throw it on down to you first. Like, what was impressive from your perspective with this win? And what did you like most from their win here?
What was impressive? What I like most? I think the thing is that like it was just like pure and utter domination from Alliance and then Falcons. Like that's all the lobby was. It was 6 games, and like it was domination in somewhat of the most boring fashion. Like they just ran their lobbies. Things just worked. So like, yeah, I can't say much was impressive because it's like, these are two teams we knew were really good and oh shit, they showed up and they were really good. And like, I think that the Open overall was amazing for showing off that like lower skill talent that or maybe that unknown talent. But I think because of that, the finals lobby was lower quality, which allowed those two teams to farm. And that last game was kind of free, as Zero's said like 7 times himself. So yeah.
Yeah, by the way, I just have to say, like, championship celebrations might be dead because that was the worst celebration of all time. Listen, I loved the win. Congrats.
Bad celebration.
Falcons. Terrible celebration.
I thought, the thing is, I was so surprised by Zero just doing that. I was like, oh, did he literally just, like, know that was such a win? That, like, I was curious about what his comms were going to do. Was he like, oh my God, we fucking won. And then, like, he just, like, hits the... But then the funny thing is he actually is like in his comms squealing the way he does, like with his when his voice gets all high pitched. It was so like I for a second thought it was Waltzy. I don't think Waltzy would ever squeal like that though.
No.
Yeah, for a second I thought it was Waltzy because I was like, there's no way you're screaming like that and then just go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyways. Yeah. No.
I feel like when you're like locked in.
Well, I was just going to say, I was going to
Well, no, like, again, I'm not talking like he was screaming comms. He was like, brace your ears, everyone. I'll try to do my best expression, but he was just like, as he was about to win, as they were killing the last guy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the way that you're like in the moment, obviously, like when adrenaline's on the line, because like they don't know whether or not they're actually going to be able to like win that game and bring it home. And like there's a moment where on that Wraith party where Zero and Hal are like both like they live with like basically both one shot, but they both make it back through the portal. So like that very easily could have ended up not being the win. But like once they have it and they're just like walking out, it's like the classic like Zero confidence of everybody else fucking sucks. Everybody should have known that we were going to win this.
It's just, if you watch when he wins games, even when they won game 5, he's the type of guy to jump up and pop off.
Yeah.
And I just found it funny to go from screaming like that to not even getting out of his chair. But like that actually might be, and we'll get into this, might be because they went on their whole losers run, 36 games in 2 days. They actually might have just been out of energy. He might have just been fried.
That could have been it. Maybe the celebration is actually cold, low key. We'll have to get to it.
There is 2 ways of looking at it. Like just kind of like hitting is kind of cool.
Yeah. I wanted to throw it on down to E because E, this was the first time you were actually at a LAN event in person. And at one point I remember you looking over at me. You're like, yeah, this is sick. Like, this is sick. from your perspective, watching the Falcons win and just being in the environment with the crowd and all that kind of stuff, how'd you feel seeing that final moment?
Dude, I mean, match point finals is without a doubt. Like, I haven't been to any other like video game event tournament type deal, but I just can't imagine that anything hits like a match point finals. Cause like when you're watching it at home, you're like, oh man, like this is great. Like more games, more fun. But when you're like, I traveled all the way out here. I want to see some Apex Legends. Alliance better not bring it home in 4. You are the biggest Alliance. Like, I like Alliance. I think Hacky's a great guy. Like, unlucky, sturdy, Effect. Apparently, fun fact, when I met Effect and I like hung out, like, and got to like see him in person, apparently I was the first person he played with on PC.
Okay.
Which
shit.
I mean, yeah, that was like something that was super cool for me. But dude, I wanted them to lose so badly in games 4, 5. Like because I didn't want it to end. And then obviously, like at some point, you're like, okay, like when more teams get to match point, you're like, okay, I wouldn't mind an Alliance W here.
Yeah,
it's just but you want the show to go on, and that it just like I thought that match point finals was great watching it from home every time. But seeing it in person is just a completely different like ball game.
And it sucks too because it kind of ended a little bit early for you because in all the other lands we've had, it's gone way deeper. And I specifically remember LA where Dark Zero dies on that hill on World's Edge, and the pop off inside that arena. Like I said, like it sounded like I was in an actual like NFL, NHL arena during the playoffs.
Well,
like,
usually when that one team is like on match point, you see that first guy go down, you just hear like, and then like everyone, you see the second knock and like, and then the third knock happens, everybody freaks the fuck out. Like,
but like
it's crazy, but we didn't get that this time. Like it only happened like once. It was crazy, bro. I do remember real quick, Jubba, when that zone pulled to where Falcons was at. You just like started looking around like, boys, they have the God spot. This is bad. Yeah. This is really bad.
I actually didn't even say this was bad. I looked at all you guys. I'm like, oh, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
We looked at each other. We're like, yeah, this is done. Like, this is like, I've never looked at a game and been so confident, like, it's ending here. Like, I wasn't there for that energy game and everything like that in Birmingham because I think a lot of the people thought the same thing when they saw the zone pull and what Optic could have had. Because that's I'm trying to think of any other ones where it's like that team clearly is going to have God spot. But this is one where I looked at it. I was like, and the funny thing is, I didn't say it was done for Alliance. Everyone's like, oh, Alliance got this. I'm like, Alliance historically, when they play Skyhook and get Skyhook zones, they don't play good. I'm like, it's done because look, Falcons is already taking that spot. But like, I was just gonna say, like, you're talking about match point, like upsets and like us seeing it in person. I don't know how you're not referring to literally Japan and the 2 games Alliance lost back to back with Unlucky being a solo. Those were the craziest ones for us, where the crowd went berserk. I don't think anything will match, especially the first one, because I think it was the first one where then Fnatic hits match point, and that crowd going insane. And we were jumping up and down. And I was not telling anyone, but I wanted I wanted Alliance to win the Japan tournament. I was trying to keep it low key. No jinxes there coming from me. That was the team I was pulling for. And I'm up there jumping as they just lost on match point in a 3v3. Yeah. I'm freaking out
on the second one. I legit jumped out, and
the second one I actually thought they won. The second one I thought they won, so I was at first I started jumping because I was like, "Fucking Alliance just won this," and then I continued. I'm more Apex.
Yeah, no, it was that's the only sucky thing, and I felt bad because like Enoch was there, and I was like, we did get 2 moments where we got to see Alliance die, and it was exciting because you're like, yay, more Apex. But I wish we would have had a little bit more. I'm just very thankful it didn't end on game 4 because there was a chance there. I thought it was going to happen. So, yeah.
Dude, I thought there was a decent chance it was on game 4. And I was like, there ain't no way I just drove 7.5 hours through the night for Alliance to win it in 4. Yeah. and so like being at like, and then when like as Jumbo, like when you see, like when they put up on the screen, like the map and like the next zone, and you just see Falcons already back there, you're just like, well, they won. And I looked over to Wyatt and I was like, honestly, I wouldn't even be that upset if Falcons won right here.
Yeah.
And because it's like they were due, right? Like it was only a matter of time. And so to be able to say like, oh, my first LAN was like the first time I showed up was when they finally were able to like bring it home. It was cool.
Yeah.
And I loved it for Waltzy, like him getting his first LAN. Yeah. They don't really, I think, show. Yeah, I guess you do see it on the broadcast when he does the interview, but it's pretty cool. The whole crowd cheering for him when he had his moment. I was annoyed that like so right before the trophy lift, we all screamed to Zero, and he like looks over at us, and they not only cut away from it in that moment, they actually cut the crowd audio, so like you can't hear us, like, which is bullshit. So I want to hear us on the broadcast. Like I'm Matt Vane. Yes.
No, it was great all the way around. Now, even though it did pull back to them, there still was a chance in that final game where it looked like things might not go Falcons' way. I'm going to throw up the clip right now so everybody can go relive that final fight and see Falcons winning their first trophy together as a team. Let me pop it in here right quick.
No. They're just sitting there. The gun's not deep enough. I have another. I just ulted cells. They're fighting right side. They're hard to find right side. I don't know yourselves. 27. We can't cross like there. They're just sitting there. Wait, one guy just jumped off. The third it. I'm selling.
Falcons now have to make their move, but elsewhere it seems like the lobby is taking care of each other. Twisted Minds have taken out Babo, but they've stayed healthy enough as we are down to 3. Falcons the only team here who can win it.
Alcazia are taking a look at Falcons and Strafing Flame will back Zero back into that portal, send them back to the hidey hole of North, but now he goes down!
Twisted Minds! They're getting involved! Strafing Flame is on his back, but can they get the res? Imperial Hal's going to get through that portal. He avoids the fence as well. A risky play here. Hal has to go back through the portal and just about managed to.
He's trying to encourage the fight. He wants Twisted Minds to force it onto Alcazia so then it'll be a simple third party for them. Is this genius from Imperial Hal and Falcons? It doesn't look like Twisted Minds are taking the bait. Twisted Minds are sitting south. If they've been paying attention to the kill feed, they will know full well Falcons are still alive here.
Falcons walking is very, very difficult. Twisted Minds have the height of that building, remember, to the right-hand side of the POV we see from Waltzy. So walking out from this bridge is going to be so tough. The smokes from Zero and how they are placed could be influential as to if Falcons could win this game.
Worth noting, Twisted Minds have Cap, Alcazia, they've moved towards them. They're fighting each other.
Oh
this
my
could
God.
open up!
The door is opened! Enemies trying to hold off the push here from Falcons. Players down on either side, Falcons up on the high ground. Is this the moment that this squad was put together for? Zero, no bangle. Downs on either side, Falcons just making sure they're patient. Making sure they don't make any mistakes. Albralele, Alcazia down. Falcons rising. Falcons champions. From the most insane elimination bracket run. 18 games through the elimination bracket. Falcons make it work and will be crowned your ALGS Open Champion.
Yeah, no, it was a hell of a run for Falcons. Obviously, they go through losers round. They played the most amount of games that you could possibly play, I believe. They played 48 games. There was no other team in the finals lobby that played that many games. They played 48. They ran through losers. They had basically 50. They had 49,000 more damage than the second place team in total damage. They had 152,000 damage. The second place team had, I think, whatever the math works out on that. I'm not a math guy. I'm not going to say it, but they had exponentially more damage, exponentially more kills. Hal was absolutely insane. If you look at the kills and the statistics on there, it's just overall incredible performance by Falcons. Really early on, people were saying, what's going to happen here? We don't know if this is going to, work out their way. They were able to battle through it. And there was some weird circumstances that you had to play in this specific land that we'll get to here in a little bit, but crazy from Falcons. Congrats to them. They are the winners. Boys, did you have anything else on Falcons? Don, do you have anything you wanted to add in before we move on into the rest of the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, they had a crazy run through losers. I really only think there was like maybe one of those rounds where they weren't like top 2 or 3, and most of the time they were winning those lobbies that they were in, which you expect a team to do that, but again, when you get knocked to losers so early, you just never know how a team's going to react on a certain day, and obviously they reacted like the champions that they are. But yeah, I think the only other note is just like Hal's just performance throughout this entire LAN. Like, just, I mean, if anybody had any questions about who the GOAT was coming into this, like, I don't think you really have any questions anymore. I mean, the guy got first in kills. He had 25 more than second place, which was his teammate 0. And then after that, it's like a 40 kill gap to the third place. And then even damage, I think it's like 15,000 to the next person, which is panic. And it just goes to show, like, when those guys are locked in and they're putting on the performances that they can, it's just, there's no question that they're the 3 best players in this game right now. And just, it's just overall an amazing performance to watch. And big shout out to Hal.
Yeah, big shout out to the boys at Falcons. They were your winners. Congratulations to Falcons. And we'll see what happens as the future moves along here, as we move into Pro League, the rest of Pro League, and then furthermore into Split number 2. Boys, there was a lot of other things, though, that took place at this tournament. The ALGS Open, there was 160 teams, thousands of lobbies, hundreds of different games, so many different things to go through and talk about. And I kind of just wanted to have like an open floor conversation about it. And I think the best way to start is to just talk about the overall tournament itself, because I do think there were some really cool concepts. And I think there's some concepts that, if they decide to do this again, could be improved upon so that in the future, it's like a better overall viewing experience for the people who are there and also for the people at home. Because the one thing that stood out to me that I really loved was the pit. Now, Don, you spent a lot of damn time in the pit. Team Omit, Omit. That was Don is coaching that team, and they were in the pit for a while there. Luckily, right on the edge, so Don was able to kind of sit there and watch how the team was playing. My biggest problem with the pit, though, was that there was no way for anybody watching in that pit area to be able to see what was going on in those games. Now, it's going to be really hard to do because obviously you can't have those people in the pit also seeing what's happening in those games. But I just wish, from like, as somebody watching inside the arena, I wish I could have known, other than just watching this guy's screen on the end of the table. You know what I'm saying? So that was like, I loved the idea of the pit. It made it feel like old gaming, made it feel like those grassroots days where, you know, gaming tournaments were literally just, you're across from the guy you're fighting. You see those crazy clips of them getting up and screaming and yelling and stuff like that. And it was awesome for that. We just didn't really get a chance to see what was fully happening there. And then I also think on the other side of it, people couldn't watch those lobbies at home, which is always going to be difficult.
Yeah, the way I would say it is, like, I love the grassroots feel, and like I love that they wanted to like have that sort of like throwback feeling to like what it used to be. But I think that like if they had a solution to like have people watch those games, you still get that feeling, but then you get the benefit of both sides. Like, we are like, esports has developed, so like there's no wrong with trying to get that grassroots feel, but like adding in some of the quality of life things that has developed with you know, the new era of esports, I guess you could say. Because yeah, it does suck. You know, and when I was at the tournament, I was saying to people, like, you know, there's at this point more Apex than you could watch that ever before in any other tournament. I'm like, so I feel like you shouldn't complain. But then at the same time, I was like, you know, there's a lot of teams out here, first time competing on LAN. And I know if I was a competitor and I was playing a lot in the pit and I couldn't see any of my footage, that would suck. And not get your moment on main stage. Like, you know, you worked so hard, you're there. That would suck. But again, like, you know, there's so many different ways you can look at it, because like without this format, you don't get that opportunity in the first place. So, you know, I thought there was a lot good that could be done. Honestly, if they just brought out like 1 or 2 more people that could like dedicated stream the people in the pit, then your problem solved, right? You still may not get every POV, but you get something to cover it. In venue, I think they needed like also a scoreboard out there. It was kind of a little bit frustrating that we had to go on our phones, which sometimes didn't work too well in the venue, to like look up scores and stuff like that. They just needed a TV with like scoreboards of what's going on.
I think they had one in LA.
Somewhere.
They had like just one dedicated
like
screen to the
outside.
scoreboard.
Like they have them typically in like on the main stage, they have a screen that's dedicated to the games going on, but I'm talking like just for, well, like for the pit or something that scrolled like showing you like where every team is like on the side. Cause like the only way we could figure it out was with the ALGS website, which was better, but still had its problems. So then I had to go to ALGS statistics, and that's where I was getting it all, because that was updating way faster than, or not faster, I should say more reliable than the main website.
Was there anything else that you guys noticed, like in venue or just overall with the like the open format that you really liked or wanted, a little bit of more improvement on?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is like we got to see a lot more. We got to see a lot more different players compete at LAN, right? And that ultimately is a great thing to have. I mean, there's a ton of stories that came out of this that people wouldn't have gotten if they didn't open up the teams a little bit more. We obviously saw Panic. I mean, again, everyone obviously had the accusations of what kind of player he was and if he cheats or this or that or whatever. And I think he silenced basically anybody at this point, just with how well he did, how well he played. And I mean, just even on a personal note, just with like how many people were like, oh shit, like Omit's kind of like nuts. That's just a bunch of crackheads running around killing people. But like, it was a great storyline. But like you said, then on the other side, it's like, but you don't get to see any of it. And so it's unfortunate on that aspect. But I really did enjoy seeing a lot more talent. I personally really enjoyed the double elimination format. I think if they do it again with this many teams, they need to have a fifth day, because I can tell you that Saturday, watching Cody and them try to play, those boys were gas. Mm-hmm. I mean, and like, yeah, it's playing video games. Yeah, you're not like standing up, running around, but like mentally having to be locked in for that tier of Apex is, it takes, I mean, a Falcons mentality really to like be able to get through all that. And, I think
I was just gonna say, I think those guys are gas too. Like, it doesn't even like you. There's a couple things about it, right? Like, and I remember from playing BLGS where we only played 12 games in a day, and it was fucking tiring. It was like because especially if you're living throughout the whole game, like if you're getting to end games often, like teams who maybe you're like Omit or Falcons who can run down a lobby, you have to remember you're playing for 20 minutes straight, right? So it's like, and like when you do that 18 games in a row, but you're full locked in, it's tiring. I remember it was someone I was talking to, it might have been one of the guys from Alliance when they were talking to me about EWC. And it's like, when you're making a lot of end games and like even sometimes like maybe not like getting a lot of points, but there's just a lot of teams alive, you're getting a lot of end games, you're exhausted 13 games deep. So yeah, no, it's absolutely exhausting.
I mean, dude, I was tired just standing by watching them play, trying to be like, okay, how are things going? Like, and obviously that last set when we didn't have a POV of them because they weren't sitting to where I could really watch, like that was a awful experience having to sit there and be like, well, refresh my phone 10 times for a website that doesn't want to load because there's so many people trying to use it. But yeah, I mean, I just couldn't even imagine how tired those guys were. But like I said, I do think there was a lot of positives, and if they did decide to do it again, there's a lot of elements that they could use and bring back again. I just think that obviously the things we've already talked about with the POVs, and I think adding an extra day to allow players a little bit more of a break. I also just think too, like overall, it's just, like I said, I just get back to how you're trying to talk about all these different teams, you're trying to get all these storylines out there, but like they don't really like push it outside of the main stage. Like it's just, you don't get to see the omits. You don't get to see, Orchid a lot. It's just, there were just so many things I think that went by that if they restructure this, even maybe set this up as like a preseason invitational type aspect as well, I just think that they could really hit a home run with this in the future if they tried it again.
Yeah, because it did capture somewhat of its goal. Like even with not having all that coverage, like you said, there's so many people, like I feel bad for Bo and Hambino because they came to this event and Panic is most likely getting poached. We know that. We could like throw out like, even you, Don, like let's be real, like without the LAN, like do you get like this coaching opportunity with Omit?
No.
Like probably not, right? Like so like, there's that. Twerkaholics was a cool story, like 36th in Challenger Circuit or something like that. Make it all the way to finals, even though they got 20th in finals. Like who cares? Like that was a huge success for them. And for the first 3 days of LAN, they were running down like the fucking best pro teams in the world. Maybe some of that caught up to them in finals. I don't know. I'm gonna look into it because it's such a cool story. It's probably becoming a story. And like yeah, like I think that the Open, they did succeed by capturing some of their goal of what they wanted, which was showing anyone could be someone in this game and helping a lot of people get opportunities that were not possible without the Open. So like, yeah, like I do think the big positive is that like it captured their goal. It's just if they tweak a few things here and there, spend some more money, because like I know that like the biggest reason a lot of the stuff didn't happen is because of budget. So if they spend some more money when you're planning to invite 160 teams to an event, and then they could capture their goal even just on a bigger scale. So
Yeah,
we'll have to hope.
The other positive I had from it too was fan interaction was at an all-time high. Like there was so many players you could come up and say hello to. There was so many different like people you could go say hi to because it was so wide open. Like you could talk to everybody, and it was cool too. You'd walk up and you'd see one pro talking to another pro being like, "Hey man, you inspired me." And like they're just going back and forth, and you get to see all of that out there. So that was really awesome. And just being able to see how they all interact. I got to meet a lot of the guys we've interviewed before, got to talk to them out there. So that was really cool. And so I don't know. I think once again, the only thing I think there's so many opportunities for them too, to have like these, we obviously have the B stream, right? Why not have a C stream? Why not have a D stream if you're going to do the open in the future? There are so many community members that would be perfect for that. You know, there's so many that you could just have out there. So I think it would be a really good opportunity, and I'm definitely not trying to throw that out there so that maybe I could be on like the Z stream or some shit like that. But it would just be it would be a
You're
good
putting
time.
yourself at Z?
Z? Yeah, because fucking he's not going to re-chat.
True.
Well, I'm not
Nah,
surprised.
that's valid.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, wait, did they reach out for the B stream?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess so.
What kind of? Have you ever watched the B stream?
I watch
Bro.
the games, but then like when it's off,
One
I
of the
kinda
most
just look at that.
impressive things that Nicewig I think has ever done is during EWC with like 80,000 viewers or something like that, or maybe it's about like 50,000 viewers. Jayhawk went into his chat and said, because they were able to vote for like if they wanted like not E District, like Broken Moon or Olympus. Jayhawk goes into Nicewig's chat and says vote Broken Moon or some shit like that. And Nicewig saw that shit with his chat moving at rapid speed and goes, "Got you, Jay." I was like, "What the? How does
That's
he
kind
fucking
of why
see
I
this
thought
shit?"
it'd be hard to read chat because there's probably so many comments flying in.
No,
like,
that's the point. Like you read the chat, you'll catch something.
That's
You'll
impressive.
read it.
That's
I'm just
impressive.
calling
But yeah,
I'm calling for a J stream, Jumba and Jayhawk. It just writes itself. So
yeah, there you go.
gotta have one next time.
There you go.
That's what I had in mind as well. I was like, that'd be a banger.
They all talk about the Nicewig and Greek banter. Wait until I call Jay a bitch like 50 times in one stream.
Jumba busts out the suit on some match point finals. I mean, it just writes itself, man. Writes itself.
The entire point is there's so many opportunities. There's a lot of people out there who could run those streams and could bring those games to be at least like maybe you don't even have like all the VODs for every different team, but you're going to have one main stream where you can kind of get an idea of what happened in there if you want to continue with the open format. So that was something I just wanted to bring up. But other than that, I think overall it was a success in my mind. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really cool. I do want to talk about some of the surprises. When you talk about an open and having 160 teams, that many players in one place, you think to yourself, the plan, the goal is to have a wide net where you start to pick up some players that maybe didn't have a whole lot of traction before. And I cannot think of any team better that exemplified exactly what the open was supposed to be about than the Twerkaholics. We got to talk about the Twerkaholics.
Shake some
we got to talk about the Twerkaholics. Now, in me and Donnie's preview, after every single set, out of all the 8 groups, I would always announce a winner based off of logo and name alone. And I had put the Twerkaholics as a winner on name alone, not thinking twice about it. They showed up. They balled out. My boy floating with the R99 while everybody else using the P2020s, just going against the grain, going off. Boys, the Twerkaholics were by far the funnest thing about this tournament. Like just watching every single fight, everything that they did, they must have revived 1,000 times. Like they would just fight. Oh, we lost this one. Let's just get them back, bring them back in. Let's fight again. And they just kept fighting over and over and over again. It was beautiful to watch. And when they did get into the zone on some of these fights, they were shredding people. What are you guys' thoughts on Twerk, Team Twerkaholics?
I mean, it's just a crazy story, isn't it? You know, like it's almost hard to put it into words what they did in this tournament, right? Because like we mentioned, you know, they're what 30, well, I did the guy and I can't remember now, but 33rd, 36th in Challenger Circuit, and no one has any sort of idea what this team's going to be like, has no clue what they're going to do with this LAN. Everyone's going to predict they're going to go out in the first round or two, and then you just you get to Sunday, it's like, oh shit, this team's in a finals lobby. And I was, like I said, a lot of the time in the pit and the side stages and stuff, and really watching over how Mitt was doing. But the boys would walk over and they'd just be like, oh yeah, Twerkaholics just dropped like a 20 kill freaking third place. Oh, they just backed it up with a 15 kill second place. Like, you just were at least from my perspective, I'm just hearing about this and be like, what the hell are these guys on? That they're just mowing down Alliance and mowing down some of these top fighting teams in the world. Like, it's an awesome story, and again, like you mentioned, everyone's using P20s, and you got a guy out here with an R9 just absolutely frying the fuck out of people. It's just, it's awesome to see. It's what the heart of the event's about, is discovering talents like this and these storylines. And honestly, to shout out to them for the name, because being able to say Twerkaholics the whole weekend and hearing the main cast have to say, jokes about twerking and all that shit, like, it was awesome, man. It was just such a good storyline.
The name change buff has never been bigger. That boy floating.
Get into this, because I didn't even know. You had told me about this. Tell the people the story of the name change buff.
Yeah. Okay. So floating, who's like the R99 phenom, literally, I think he changed his name like a week before the event. I could be wrong. It could have been longer than that, but he used to go by AC Season, and I'd like fought him like a decent amount of times in ranked, and I was like, okay, yeah, like sure, I've shit on him, he shit on me, like there's like the back and forth, but it's like there was never a time where I was like, man, like this guy's nuts. Literally the week of like the tournament, like I think it was like Monday or Tuesday, there's this guy floating, running around in ranked, and I was just getting pissed on it. And I was like, who is this guy? And then later find out that it's AC Season. I'm like, what? I was like, the name change buff is real. And then that was just from playing in ranked, like playing against him a couple times in ranked. And then like literally like a few days later, this dude's out here kill leader at LAN. And it's like the floating buff, like the name change has never gone harder. And just like the overall, like the ability that a team can go from like 33rd in CC, which is just wild, that 33rd in CC can like make it to a LAN. And to not only make it to a LAN, but then make it to finals. Like obviously they didn't have the greatest finals performance, but I mean, it's their first time. But just like, as Donnie said, it's just an incredible storyline, like what the event is really made for, and highlights just the point that we've all been talking about how like there needs to be like more like it's just absolutely criminal that there was so much Apex that was played that just nobody really got to see. And to put on an event with like this many teams, it's just criminal that some of these teams walked away without having like any footage of them actually ever being there. And so thankfully Twerkaholics was not one of those teams, and we got to see them on multiple accounts mowing down teams that we didn't expect. And so
it was just crazy because they qualified directly through winners, right? Like they didn't even go to losers the whole week or weekend, which is even crazier. So they don't have a pop off in finals, but like they're only one of 10 teams that never saw the loser side. Like that's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Absolutely insane, and they were lucky enough, like he was saying, to get main stage. I'll correct it because I'm the one who brought up their placement. Their most recent Challenger circuit was 14th, but none of like what we talked about changes it. I don't know where.
I mean, like 14th in CC is not like
still not
crazy.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I believe that's their overall standing is what that is. The 36, because between the two that they played in.
Fair enough. I would go on to just like basically, I got a lot to talk about them because. So we had watched them in Winners 1, and the interesting thing was while we were sitting out there, this team, like they were dropping at POIs like Devastated Coast, where then they could loot quick and sprint to the other POI that's closest. So like, for example, this case was Launchpad, and take a contest off drop. I don't remember who it was up against in the first set that I'm talking about, but it basically was like with POI draft now, teams are not expecting to get contested. And so when this was happening, they're sending one player to go over there and start causing havoc. Other two would come up and they'd win the fight and they get 3 KP off strip. I'm like, oh, this is pretty crazy. This is an interesting strategy that they're doing. Like Devastated Coast, people talk about it, not a good POI. The big reason it's not a good POI is because it's so hard to rotate to the north with all those teams around you. You got Pylon, Launch, and everything like that. But then also too, like if teams have to come your way, again, like you don't have very much loot, you can't do much from there. And they said, fuck that. And they're like, we're just going to send it and basically steal Launchpad. And they did it every single game. Like, so that's how they're racking up a lot of points. 3 kills per game to start. That's 9 points in one half of your set. So when we were setting up, I was on the desk for the next set. We had Twerkaholics in our lobby, and they come to the back, and Ben, who's the producer of all the talent in the show, and he goes, hey, we're gonna do like teams to talk about. I need you guys to pick a couple teams. He asks me and Zephyr to pick teams specifically, but he looks at Jamerson and he says, Jamerson, I want you to talk about Twerkaholics. And Jamerson's like, I don't know anything really about this team. And he might have been I'm not sure if he's on desk before, but it's sometimes it's hard to follow when you're in the green room, all the storylines. So I said to him, Jamerson, this is what they're doing. Explain them the whole like running at them situation. It's a pretty cool thing. I said the biggest thing for me is like they could do that in the first lobby where there's a lot of more inexperienced teams, easier lobby. Can they do it now in the second lobby, which still is going to have some experienced teams, but like there's going to be better teams undeniably. Can they do it? And then we get there, and then all we talked about was fucking Twerkaholics because they were absolutely frying. There was a team that I'm pretty sure dropped 2 wins. I think it was Young Black Ricky dropped 2 wins in the first 3 games. Oh, no, it was Monster, sorry. Monster dropped 2 wins overall throughout the set, and we only talked about Twerkaholics, really, which I feel bad for the disrespect to Monster, but it was just crazy what they were doing with how many kills they were putting up. We had a 10-minute delay, and we pretty much talked about Twerkaholics that entire 10-minute delay. That's how crazy they were. And then the other funny story I have about Twerkaholics that happened was like, I think it's like day 3 now, and I'm in the green room with some of the casters, and this guy walks in the back. He goes, are you guys all talent? And they all say like, yeah. It was okay, cool. He goes, I work for the anti-cheat team. He goes, and we like looked through a lot of like the different devices at the event. We made sure we checked like 400 different controllers. We noticed everything was like spot on clean and everything like that, but we wanted to see like your thoughts, like how does the event seem so far? Does it seem like pretty good? Like anything, like he doesn't say like anything fishy, but he's kind of like implying like anyone like really surprising us how they're performing here. And everyone's just like, yeah, floating, man. This guy, like, it's crazy. Came out of nowhere. The rise up is sick.
That's
like, you think this guy's cheating. And he's like, okay, cool. He's like, what term is that? It was Twerkaholics. Yeah, like, like they're not the greatest CC team, but they're out here just shredding teams. He's like, okay, I could look into that. Everyone suddenly is like, no. Wait. Stop. We don't actually think he's cheating. We're kind of saying like they're playing so good. It's almost funny. Like it'd be a funny explanation. The only way they could be this good is if they're cheating, but please don't look into him. So I don't think he ever did, but that was a funny situation where, anti-cheat team wanted to look into them. I don't know.
Yeah, no, if Twerkaholics was the story, it was great watching Twerkaholics just from afar. And like my favorite thing about Twerkaholics was actually their finals lobby, because they had every opportunity to be like, all right, guys, listen, we got here. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's see if we can get some wins. They said, fuck no. We're not changing anything. We're going to fight everybody again and again and again and again. Yes, did they get 20th? Yeah, okay. Last in the lobby. Who gives a shit? They went out on their sword. They were like, we're going to play the exact same way we played the entire tournament. And for me, I thought that was cool, because it was just like, yeah, we made it to the big time. Should we change things up? Hell no, we're not going to. We're going to keep playing Twerkaholics football. That's what they did. They played Twerkaholics Apex. They ran the damn ball. And, they learned a valuable lesson. And I think they're going to carry that forward into the rest of their Apex careers.
No, I respect that, though. Because,
that's what I'm saying.
If they got through the entire tournament playing the way that they did, they continued those rat plays and everything. In fucking winners finals, I think they were doing it, where they were landing at some dog crap POI on fucking E-District, and then they were just sending it to Stadium and killing whoever was there. Or it might not have been winners finals, but because I remember Crazy Raccoon, it was that they were sending a LAN champion team, by the way. So it's just like, they got through the entire tournament doing that. To try and switch it up after could have gone terrible. And even though they came 20th. Like, I feel like if they played that way, they would have looked back and been like, fuck, if only we played the way we played this entire tournament, we would have done better. At the very least, they know they did what they felt was working for them.
And they carried that through Game 6 too. Like, it was all the way through Game 6 because we were watching a little bit of Falcons footage before we hopped in here, and literally before Falcons is even leaving the POI, you just see Twerkaholics in the kill feed already fighting 9 lives, and it's like, damn, these boys just went out absolutely fiery, no matter what the case was. So definitely shout out to those boys.
It's such a perfect point, Jumbo, because it's just like, even if, let's say, for instance, they decide to switch up the strat and they get like 16th. They're like, yeah, damn, man. You know, we tried to play it a little bit differently. Damn, I wonder what would have happened if we would have just ran the damn ball, played some Twerkaholics Apex. They would have always thought about that. They don't have to think about that now. They're like, we ran it down. It did not go great. We're gonna switch some things up, and we're gonna come back a little bit stronger. And I think they will. But
I think we got to get them on the pod because honestly, I wonder if they even think about switching things up. Because like I think I want to watch their whole finals lobby back. I'll freaking say it now. I'm gonna probably do a video on them.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really interesting to look at their finals lobby and see, like, was it that strategy wasn't working, or was there some other stuff where it was just like, wow, they got unfortunate finally for 6 games straight. I don't know. Call me crazy. I think that, like, if they were to finally get into Pro League or something like that, maybe eventually they catch up to them, but I think that some of the shit they were doing could work. No one's expecting. They're like, oh, fucking ring 1 is about to close. We can finally grab this harvester. Oh, no, wait, there's 3 guys sitting on top of the harvester and they killed us. Like, why would that not work in Pro League? The guys are not going to expect it. It happens in my favorite case of it in esports. Like, viewers who like watch Counter-Strike will know the story of Stewie UK. Who was a guy who they called him just like a pub stomper, play like high level ranked in CSGO and everything like that, or Face It. And he would play against pros and he would look insane. It was like, he'll never be able to take this to pros, because what he would do is when there would be a smoke down, everyone's like, okay, smoke's there. No one's coming through that smoke. Not Stewie. Stewie's jumping through that smoke and he's going to one tap everyone as he comes through it. And then he gets to the Pro League and he starts doing the same fucking shit, and a few years later goes and wins a major with C9, like I think the only NA team. I could be wrong about that. I haven't watched.
I'm pretty sure they're the
only
NA team.
But like you know, everyone thought Stewie couldn't play the way he played with like actual pros. It's this unhinged thing, but he broke the mold that these guys were used to. And that's what the Twerkaholics could be. That maybe I'm over positive about.
No, I think it's great. And this is once again, we've said it so many times, but this is exactly what the Open was meant for. Now, I did want to go around, do a quick little round robin. We already talked about Twerkaholics. I wanted to ask y'all if there was any other team that just surprised you. It could even be an individual player that you just wanted to highlight real quick. Just going through and talking about some of these other teams here. I'll throw it on down to you, Don. I feel like I know your answer. But you know, I'm going to throw it on down to you anyway.
Yeah, you kind of caught me off guard, I'll be honest. But I mean, I think I'll just go for it. I mean, just honestly, just meeting the Omit boys and having the experiences of, you know, taking me back to coaching a little bit, of just nervously watching people that you work with, or coach, or however you want to word it, trying to play a game and you have no say or ability to help them at all. Like, it was definitely a lot of fun, as nerve-wracking as it was. And just honestly, shout out to the boys, like, just in general, because a bunch of great guys. And they just absolutely fragged out, absolutely battled the whole weekend. I mean, Cody ended up top 5 in kills, which is absolutely insane with them going out and like the losers semis. I think that's the right one. But I mean, finishing the top 40 when definitely no one expected them to finish, I think, that high. And for a team that never scrims, and a team that definitely just is kind of playing on vibes and just having a good time, like, it was definitely a lot of fun. And I definitely think they were one of the storylines that definitely came out of the LAN for some people, of like, oh, like, this team that just never practices just came and was, you know, a couple fights away from potentially making it into the top 30 or even finals. Because even in that lobby where they got knocked out, like, 3 of their times they got killed were by Falcons. So, like, you kind of ran into a buzzsaw at that point, and unfortunately that buzzsaw was Falcons. But yeah, I mean, that was definitely, on a personal side, that was definitely my storyline, and it was definitely a lot of fun for sure.
And it was a beautiful marriage of the Apex, the podcast, and storylines, because Don, who's on the pod, coaching Omit, who has Cody, the first ever 3-time guest on this show. We've had him on so many times, and like watching Cody. By the way, Cody's arm sleeve hard. Like he's got the sickest arm sleeve of all time. Shout out Cody, but it was fun watching Cody. Luckily, he was in the pit, but we got to like sit right next to him and kind of watch how he was playing. Watching Cody with a charged up Rampage it's an experience that you want to be a part of. That's for sure.
And it's just so funny real quick, just because like you see Cody, he's on like the balls of his feet, basically screen, face to screen, just absolutely locked. And then you go over to Sang, who's sitting there like crisscross in his chair, just absolutely like vibing out, but like also fragging at the same time. It's just the economy between the two is just so funny because Cody is just so aggressively into his screen, where Sang is just like, could just be having a beer with this guy right now. Like he's just so chilled out. Like it's a very interesting trio to say the least. But
surprising amount of Apex players take the shoes off while the game's going on. And sometimes I feel like it's involuntary. Like the match will start, they have shoes on. By the time it's over, shoes are off. A lot of pros were like that.
Pricey was walking around in the pit without shoes the whole time. Just like, that's just how I'm comfortable. Like you could just tell, like he was just like, that's how they normally play. And I mean, we're talking about the guy that got third place at this LAN. So like, it was, the pit was an environment to say the least, but it was definitely a ton of fun. So
Jumbo, I want to throw it on down to you. Was there a team or a player that you thought that you wanted to highlight real quick that surprised you, or at least in your opinion should be getting more shine?
I'm going to rapid fire these. Akadsia, the last few lands for strafing were not the best. Love seeing them bounce back. Pick up a Pricey. Couldn't have been better for them. Pricey went fucking nuts this land. 19 kills in finals. Huge damage. And if you watch him, that guy was styling on people. So hype for them. Twisted Minds with freaking Alb. Crook's first time IGLing. They were the 1 seed going into finals. We talked about it. Like Alb didn't know that apparently that Falcons were on finals. His teammates knew, but he didn't know. They lost track of Falcons. They could have kept the tournament going, but like to even be in that position shows how sick it was for almost like this come up of Alb. And there was a lot of unsigned teams in that final lobby, like not unsigned, but like I guess I should say like up and coming teams. Empire, 9 Lives, even though they're in PL right now, kind of felt like one. Cat. Yeah, just a rival. There's a few unsigned teams, so shout out for them to like get all the way. Babo was there too. I guess I didn't mention Bob. Babo could have taken the house and ended Falcons, man. I love Falcons. I'm happy they won. My boys, they won, but I wanted one more game.
You always want one more game.
Babo could have did it. Man.
You always want one more game.
Shout out Babo. So shout out.
Was there a team or a player that stood out to you?
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of Jumbo and go with the Empire boys. Like that's a team that like you have Riley and that boy Lord of the Rings 31 that have been playing together for so long, and that's like a duo. Like we seen Apex and like right now like roster mania is going crazy, and that is a team that I think we will see sticking together for a fairly long time. Carter is like a fairly somewhat newer addition to that roster, but I think that like group of 3 guys we will see for like many years to come competing, and like they have like incredibly bright futures ahead of them and are just like solid guys. Came out and had a pretty incredible finish. Like they got like 7th or 8th, one of those.
7th. Yeah.
And
pretty wild for them, yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is like for their first LAN is pretty incredible. And so that's definitely a team that I'm going to be having my eye on. And then another team is the that boy MG Clutch and Huddy. They didn't have like the best of performances, but I think that team, that duo picks up Nasky and they instantly become probably my favorite EU team. And so that is probably going to, like, out of all like the EU Pro League, that's going to be the team that I'm going to be rooting for. And they're going to be a team that I'll have my eyes on moving forward and that we should all expect to see at the next LAN.
Well, and a quick shout out to the Empire boys. They have left Empire and are signing to a different org, which you want to talk about a team that took advantage of their opportunity. We obviously don't know who that org is yet, but you would think it might be a step up, whether that's pay or opportunities or whatever. But big shout out to them for taking advantage of their opportunity, finishing in the top 10 at their first LAN. Yeah, it was a great shouty because honestly, if we weren't talking about Twerkaholics, we might have been talking about them as the biggest surprise because who would have picked them to be top 10? It probably would have picked them to be in finals, honestly. So huge shout out to them for their first LAN.
Yeah, and then I wanted to round it off with mine, and that was Nine Lives. I actually got to talk to them after the tournament was over. I ended up at this bar, and they just happened to be there. But I did think that they were getting to talk to all those guys. It was mostly just Vane and McLovin, and then the org owner. But talking to those guys, like Vane, remember just not that long ago, like with Oxygen, they had an incredible run, and then Vane. At one point, I think he might have said he was taking a break or he was retiring, like he was done with Apex.
He like retired, yeah. He didn't know if he was going to come back.
And getting to talk to him,
he just came back for this split, yeah.
Getting to talk to him and then seeing them and have this performance, getting to this finals and playing that the way that they played, super impressive, awesome to talk to, and I'm just very excited about the future with Vane because we already like I think he can do it. Like he's one of those players that I'm really looking forward to in the future. And just from having a conversation with him, you can tell he's like very amped for the future of like what's to come with his squad. I'm pretty sure that it's just going to be Vane and McLovin moving forward, and then they're looking for a third. Don, have they found one yet? Or
there's nothing official yet, but I know they are trialing a couple different thirds. Because I know there was a graphic. I think that.
There's just been so much roster mania that I'm not 100% sure they've announced.
I saw a graphic from Privacy, but I think it's already outdated based off the rumors I've been seeing online. Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to shout out Nine Lives, Vane, and McLovin. I thought they played a hell of a tournament. Circe as well. I believe they're moving on without Circe. But overall, just great performance from Nine Lives. Super impressive. And it's one of those times where you get to watch that little bit of that redemption. And it was a good story. So that was the team I wanted to talk about a little bit. Now, on the opposite side, there were obviously some teams that we really expected to do well. And in fact, in some of my, like me and Don's little preview, I had one team in particular that I thought was going to do fantastic. And it was, I think, 137th place. It was not good. My boys over at Go Next. I was hyping them up, talking about how great they were at fighting. Did not go well. Did not go well for the boys over at Go Next. And then obviously I am the king of trying to change the mojo of the vibe and trying to get a team back into a place where I feel like I'm not costing them, even though I'm literally not playing and not affecting them whatsoever at all. I bought this hat thinking it would change the mojo of Team Complexity. I thought, and I forgot to cancel the order because by the time
you didn't forget. We were sitting there. We told you to do it, and you didn't do it.
I did forget because I was going to do it, and then after I was like, I should probably return that hat. And then after we left the event, it was just beers. But yeah, I mean, I could have. I completely could have at one point.
It shipped fast.
It did. I mean, it got here. It's an incredible hat. Like it's a great quality hat. The dude embossed, like it's awesome. It did not change the mojo. It did not change the vibes. But yeah, so that was
Split 2. It's going to be great for Split 2, dog.
Split 2. Yeah. Split 2. I'm so excited. Yeah, no, it was tough watching my Complexity boys go down like that, but I got to speak to Kimchi and Mon, which was great because I've wanted to speak to Kimchi ever since we interviewed him the first time. Got to talk to him. He told me he was going to send me a signed jersey. That's badass. So yeah, overall, tough showing for the Complexity boys, but that was my team that I was really rooting for. And then the team I had been pulling for a lot in EU was Go Next, and did not go well for the Go Next boys. Anybody that you guys wanted to shout out? Don, I'll throw it on down to you.
I mean, I maybe wouldn't say shout out.
Yeah, I was going to be like, hey, let's talk about teams that disappointed you. Who you want to shout out?
Hey, shout out. No, but
there's a lot of teams I really thought were going to be in this final lobby that did not make it.
Well, and before I get into it, I'll just say real quick, and I think that's what this Open was almost designed to do, was kind of create these different stories of, like, obviously the good side of things where we saw a lot of surprises, but these double elimination type tournaments, no matter the sport you're in, are going to create chaos because everything's going to play out so much differently when you lose that first life. I mean, we saw some teams that I think we were shocked that, I mean, most of these lobbies for the first round, for those who didn't pay attention enough, were like 18-team lobbies. So, like, you would think the top teams wouldn't have much of a problem getting through that first round. I mean, we had Go Next, NIP, and Riddle Order, and Team Nemesis, who is like number 2 in EU right now for Pro League, all drop to the losers after the first round, which is just absolutely insane. Because I mean, you're talking about Nasky, you're talking about the Go Next boys. I mean, a ton of talent there that dropped down early and had to fight their way out. And some teams responded well, and unfortunately, a team like like you said with Go Next, like they ended up going out early. Like I said, I think probably my biggest surprise, at least just based on how they were playing, was probably, I mean, honestly, I'd probably say Crazy Raccoon. I know they weren't playing the best, but you think they get to a LAN format, a team that's won in the past, and they go out in losers round 2. Like, maybe it wasn't good necessarily to be a team that made finals, but I would thought at the very least they would have been able to get into the top 40. But I think just with this format, when you lose that first life so early, it's just so tough to bounce back and play as well as Falcons did consistently. Because, again, you got so many games you have to play. You have so many back-to-back, don't have much of a break in between sets. It's a lot to ask. And if you're not on it every single game, you're going to get knocked out. And, I mean, again, we've got a list here, which obviously we're not going to go through everybody. But, I mean, just seeing Crazy Raccoon from literally a year ago, this roster won a LAN and started this cycle of, teams that weren't the super teams winning LAN. So it was very surprised to see them go out as early as they did. It was losers round 2. But I mean, yeah, the list is crazy, and I'm sure you guys will get into a couple more here in a second.
Jumbo, was there one that stood out to you?
Off the top of my head, like, I feel like you guys have covered some of them. Yeah, so like no one specifically. Like the biggest thing is this open. We saw the same thing happen with BLGS, where like shit that is going to be random, and that's going to knock out some good teams, and it was absolutely expected. So, like when I saw good teams go out, I wasn't like, oh shit, like they're done already. I was more so like, I was waiting to see who it was. Like, and it just some of these guys ended up being like the casualties that went out early. So no, like any team that was pretty much is a pro league or LAN team, especially a LAN finals team or LAN winner team that didn't make it to finals, is going to be a shock. And there was a lot of those. So I think that's what happens with the open, though. In 160 teams, you're going to get some random stuff. You're going to get Twerkaholics ratting your ass and making you have 3 games in a row with 0 points.
Yeah. So ladies and gents, that should just about do it for everything from the intro here. Lots of stuff to talk about. We probably left some meat on the bone, but there's just so many teams. There's so many different things, so many storylines. So we tried to just cover the best. To round out this segment, I just want to run through the top 3 real quick. Team Falcons, obviously, with the win. Alliance right behind them, and El Kadzia in third. That rounds out the Open, the finals of the Open. Ladies and gents, we're going to send it on down to our interview. We have a great time talking to Hal, going through and talking about everything with this win and everything that went into it. Obviously, a long run for Falcons where they had their ups and downs. So getting to talk to him about it was awesome. Let's hit a quick ad and send it on down to Imperial Hal. All right, ladies and gents, we welcome back on a very special guest. 3rd time on the pod. It is the CEO, Imperial Hal. Hal, you guys just won probably one of the wildest events, I would say, with the way it was set up, how everything went down, and just the debauchery of how many games you guys had to play. Everything was chaotic. It was wild. It was crazy. But I just got to say, after you get this win, where does this one rank in your LAN wins over, your entire career? Is this one even close to the top, or because of how wild it was, is it up there?
I've been asked that a couple times. Like, I don't think it's definitely like not top 2. I'd probably say like 3rd or 4th overall. I don't know. It's like, I think it was mainly because like the finals didn't seem that serious to other finals. Like it felt like some games were like scrim quality type of games, and I don't know. I feel like the way that was like the most anticlimactic like win I think I've ever had in a LAN. Kind of like just sitting in zone and really just third party and didn't make it really like a play at all, to be honest, except the very end with the portal. But like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like outside of the finals, definitely like top 3 easily because of like the run. Obviously, first team to win only from losers bracket. So, finals kind of made it a bummer, but it wins a win, so I'll take it.
Can we acknowledge how crazy it is to say, yeah, this is 4th on my list of wins?
5th? Yeah. I thought you meant like the amount I won, but
no.
yeah.
You said like 3rd or 4th on your list of wins. No, yeah.
It was
absolutely
when you say it was anticlimactic, it was all of us were sitting next to each other watching up in the front row, and when we saw where the circle pulled, everybody kind of just looked over and was like, yeah, they're winning this one. Was that kind of the same sentiment you guys had? Like, yeah, we got it.
Well, we called that we were going to win before the game even started, before we even started the game, because we were like, or Zero was like, yeah, Hal's playing Wraith, I'm playing Bang, like this is the game to win. And fortunately, it was literally the perfect zone to get, with Beacon, Alliance being the only other match point team, but they have Fuse, so they can't like rotate instantly compared to us. So it was just like, literally, like if the stars align, like in every like that entire game, like from start to finish. So yeah.
Was that the first time that you guys have been on that team comp?
I think it was, yeah. I don't think we usually play Ballistic instead of Bangalore with that comp, but I think Ballistic was banned the game before that we won. So yeah, usually I think that's like our very first time we played that. We obviously played Watson and Wraith, but not like Bang, Watson, Wraith. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a wild event, and overall, just the finals were pretty anticlimactic. I think not just for y'all, but like people watching at home too, just because there were some teams that had squeaked in there and kind of been able to make finals that maybe in other lands they wouldn't have even been like had a chance to do so.
Yeah.
But the entire event, you guys obviously go down to the elimination bracket pretty early, at least for your guys' standards. When that had happened, was there any conversation or anything said between you guys, or was it just kind of business as usual? We're just going to lock in and kind of get into the zone here.
I don't know. Like it was kind of like business as usual, really. Like the main thing is, we have to like maintain our confidence and, our mentality and not get like mentally defeated or like mental boom because we went to lose bracket. Like right off the bat, I was like, okay, like we're going to be the first team to win LAN, like from losers bracket. Like I'm not going to miss finals. I know Waltz did not want to miss finals, and like Zero was telling us like, listen, like if you guys get me to like losers finals, like I'll get you to finals and we'll win. Like that was like kind of our deal between each other. So we told each other that, and like I said, like the biggest thing when you get to losers bracket is not changing mentality or anything like that, like changing anything. Is just kind of maintaining it, because the easiest, like the worst time, or typically when stuff like that happens, when you go to losers bracket, you become mentally defeated, and then everything kind of falls apart. And that's like the difference between like great teams and like bad teams. The bad teams will just like mental boom, and then like just continuously go down a cliff basically with the performance. But we're kind of like the opposite. We didn't want to like, we weren't planning on making this LAN the first time I've missed finals, and same with Walty. So, we kind of just like stayed mentally strong, and as soon as we like had one good block, we kind of just went back to like how we usually are. So that's all we needed.
Yeah, you guys won 3 of those losers or like elim sets. And then like one of them you came in 4th. There was one where, it was kind of dodgy, like 9th. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I want to know, like, with the set in the winners, was it like the format of this tournament, like with all like the random teams, did you guys just kind of feel like that second set was going to just be something pretty easy, so you guys didn't take fully serious? And then
that's a good question, because like it's funny, I like remember, I'm going to throw Zero kind of under the bus, but it's like I remember Zero would be like, we're like that block that we didn't make it, like he was like, yeah, like it's all right, like I'm not worried about qualing, I'm just worried about doing well, like, or whatever, like that's what he was kept saying. And then like it became to the point where it was like going down to the last 2 games, I was like, okay, like we gotta care about qualing now, not just doing well. So Like he sometimes does that. Like he doesn't like worry about it, for whatever reason. But yeah, that he like mentioned that a couple times. But I always took it serious. It's just like I don't know. Like we were getting griefed from like LOG. Like those guys were just like running us down like constantly, or like third partying our fights because they were landing next to us. Like them like winning first game, then like running Walsey down the second game, and then like running us down the rest of the game. It kind of just like fucked everything up the first 3 games, which led to us like having a bad first 3 games. And I said it before the tournament. I was like, we gotta make sure we don't have a first 3 bad games, because if you do, then it's like pressure's on and you have to like claw back. Like if you have a good start, it's like you play a lot better because there's no pressure and you have confidence and whatever. So, but yeah, when you have those 3 bad games because of us getting ran down by LLG like half the time, it kind of just like made everything harder the last 3 ones, and we played like way more passive and hesitating to take fights and stuff like that.
Yeah, because like I know they were slamming you guys at the Maggie and everything like that, but like I thought that I knew it was gonna happen to someone in this event where it was gonna be like a good team who's gonna go in with like confidence because they should run the lobby, but then something's gonna happen where you're gonna have a team like that just kind of try and grief you. And next thing you know, you guys played 18 more games, I think, than a team that went straight through winners. Like Alliance played 30 games. I think you guys played 48, which is the most you could have played the event, which was pretty wild. Like, what did you think about, I guess, like this open format? I feel like I know some of your opinions seeing them online, but what did you think about that?
Well, that was like absolute hell. Like I wasn't really like thinking about it at the time. I didn't think we were going to go through like losers bracket that early specifically. So like, I think the second day where we were going through losers bracket, like I think middle of the second block or something, or I might have been the first block. I don't really remember, but there was at some point I just remember I was like, bro, I don't even want to fucking play anymore. Like this is just, I'm just like so tired. Like I'm just like exhausted. Like there was also like a 1 hour pause break in the middle of our games because someone's PC was
you guys
just
were
like
not set.
Yeah, like,
yeah, that was Arcane's.
Arcane's SSD was
PC
fried. Arcane's SSD was fried because of him having a wireless headphones, and they were trying to replace it. And then when he tried to replace it, it like broke his PC.
It was 2 things. It was someone else had wireless headphones, and as they were dealing with that, then his PC like started basically exploding.
Yeah, I don't know. Shit like that. But like that, like also the worst timing is that like I had to use a fucking bathroom, so like I'm just sitting there for like 40 minutes, like holding a piss, and they're telling me I can't go to the bathroom, and I'm like, okay, like I've been sitting here for 30 minutes, and you still don't want to let me go to the bathroom, like, hello, like what are we doing? Like I don't have my phone. Nobody has their phone. You guys take it away. Like what am I supposed to do? Like is there a hole in the bathroom I could take and get to the main stage and cheat or something? It was just like, that was just hell. And then, I don't know, it was just like not fun at all, like playing that long. Like you literally were like, after every set, like sometimes you had to swap from side stage to main stage. So you just had no time to like you had time to eat, but it was like a rush. It wasn't like you had to sit around. You also had a POI draft. You had a POI draft, swap setup. There was one time I remember like we literally like, we won the block, I think, and then we were on the side stage, and then they told us to pack up, and then they told us, oh yeah, you guys are playing in the same spot. So then we packed up for no reason, and then had to reset up in the same exact spot again, when we could have just like left our shit there and like never set up before they just, they could just tell us like, hey, you're actually moving here, or no, you're staying here, and we just packed up for like no reason. So that was also sick, but yeah, I don't know. Playing that long, like past 12 games, is just not what you're supposed. Like, I just don't believe that should be a thing. Like, you're not like we're basically just pushing your players like to the point. Like, it's like everyone's just gonna start playing terrible, and it's like, why does anyone want to watch that?
Yeah, one extra day would have been probably just.
Oh yeah, for sure. But Apex was being like very, very cheap in so many ways. Like they did this thing where it's like, yeah, like let's give everyone an opportunity, 160 teams, but like, we're going to go to fucking New Orleans, and then we're going to have a venue that doesn't even have seats for side stage. We're going to have a venue that closes food at 4 p.m. There's no alcohol. There's like literally no backstage, basically. The only thing that's in the backstage is bathroom. I have to walk through like 100 people so I could get to the player lounge. It's just like, it was very, very scuffed compared to like every other LAN, in my opinion.
There was another thing that I was wondering about from the player's perspective with this open format, and it was I thought at first it sounds like a good idea, but then I think in practice they could have done a little bit better with it. And it was that stage where they were like highlighting teams, where you're kind of just like on a mini stage in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah, that was really
how
good.
was that?
I personally like that. I thought that was a great idea. It was kind of just most of the time it felt like it was just kind of featuring the popular teams. It wasn't really like the teams that were like doing well necessarily. But yeah, like I think it was a good idea. Obviously, like, but the thing is that side stage there was not a single chair. Like people are going to be sitting on the ground or standing for 10+ hours if you want to watch your team playing on the side stage for all 3 or 18 games. So like people were like literally grabbing chairs from a different like the other room just themselves. Like they had to do it themselves, the audience, which like obviously helped a lot, I'm sure, for them. But yeah, like yeah, I don't know. It was like I said, the feature state was cool, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It's like feature state is cool. Feature state is cool, but the like face it like whole thing is just absolutely terrible. Like I've never even been on it once. I've just seen and only heard bad things about it. So it's like, yeah, you have 4 or 5 teams being featured. You could watch it in person, but then like majority of your audience is online, and majority of your teams is also playing on the side stage. Everyone's not playing main stage. And if you don't give people access to like watch their teams, and even if you can, it's like scuffed audio or you're spectating the wrong team or some shit. Like you can't have like you can't have a company like Faceit be in charge of something like that's so important and like completely fuck it up, not just once, but like I feel like multiple times. So I don't know if they have like a contract with them or something, but they just have not been doing their part, I feel like.
So when it comes to the open format, I think there was a lot of really good ideas. And I think that like overall, there was some teams that we got, to see that maybe we would have never seen before, some players we probably wouldn't have seen before, opportunities for coaches and different stuff like that. Would you want to see this happen again though? And if so, like what would you want to change the most about it?
Yeah, it was funny because I was asked that question before the tournament, and like they asked me, how's the format? Just like I think after the first block, or I think definitely after the first day, and I was like, yeah, it's like fine. Like I feel like it's a little bit overboard. After I played like 18 games back to back, I was like, yeah, what the fuck? Like, what are we doing? Like, what is this?
What about like when you compare it to Poland? Because you guys had 80 teams there. Now it was a little bit different where you guys were playing like 3-game sets as opposed to 6-game sets. I don't think I'd ever want to see a 3-game set nowadays, like the random shit that could happen in 3 games. But like that 80-team format versus this, what did you think of that comparison?
I think that was way better. Obviously, like I think I'm trying to remember like how Poland was also long. No, it was like 11 or 12 games.
Yeah, it was 3 days too. Like
finals,
you guys did everything in 3 days.
Yeah, so it wasn't that bad. Like I much more prefer that. I feel like just like there's a lot more issues outside of format. It was more so like location. Like I feel like I was in the middle of nowhere. The catering was like cafeteria food or like prison food. Like from me personally, when I was in Poland, like I don't know if you were there, but like holy fuck, it was really bad. Like I was literally going off. I was eating like chocolate and soda for a tournament. Like that's what I was eating.
They also did losers bracket the same day as match point finals. So there was some players that played like 4 games or 5 games in the morning.
Yeah, like Rogue. I think Rogue was complaining about that because they went through losers bracket.
And then there was like a 4-hour break as a Nice Week's controller, and then there was like fucking 11-game match point.
Yeah, that's why they made like hell for some people. So like that was also obviously like didn't help at all. Obviously we didn't go. I don't think we went through losers bracket for that tournament, but yeah, back to like fucking New Orleans. It was like I don't know. The format is like cool. Give opportunity to other players, make a name for themselves and show up like Twerkaholics and Empire. They did so well. Cats from EU, like CC team. Like, yeah, it's cool. But like, it took you 160 teams to just have maybe like 2 teams do well or showcase their talent. Like, Twerkaholics at like 20th, I think. Cat, I don't know what they got. I think Empire got 6th or 7th. Those are like underdog teams that did like better than they were expected. But it took you like 160 teams to just get 2 or 3 teams to show up, and every other team was kind of like either signed or expected to be there, right? So it's like was it really worth it? You have I don't know how many teams got eliminated within 1 or 2 days Like it was more than half, or maybe half of teams.
Yeah,
It's
80.
like, yeah, I don't know. It was just like kind of overboard. But I think they kind of just did that because they knew they were saving so much money with like the venue and like the location and stuff like that. So they decided to like try something like that out. But I feel like you cannot do that many teams unless you have like an extra day being played, or the format, like there needs to be more of like like I said, 12 games max a day. You're playing 18, like that's way too overboard. That's like the main thing. As long as there's only 12 games a day, I'm completely fine with playing 12 games a day. Other than that, like, I don't know. I also think like I just don't see the point of having that many teams. Like I think, like I said, it's just overboard. There's maybe should be like 100 or 80. I don't really know like what the like right number amount is, but I think like that type of money can be, for that many teams could be put towards something else more useful, like hotels, or you're not forcing people to pay out of their pockets for hotels. Yeah, I don't know. That's just how I see it.
How much more do you think the fatigue aspect would have been if you were on M&K still versus roller?
Oh, that would have been way worse. Oh, like I'm just lucky that I was playing roller and I'm not even IGLing. Like I can just only imagine like a mouse and key IGL. Like his brain my brain would be fried, like completely fried. Like I would be obviously like still IGLing. I would be drinking Red Bull, up the ass to like compensate, which I was doing that anyways. But like,
Yeah,
it was just, I don't know. I'm like, would have been way, way worse if I had to play a mouse and key. I think it was more so it would have been way worse if I had to IGL for that many games and for that long. That would have been, I think, way worse in the aspect of like playing mouse and key in the first place.
How many Red Bulls deep were you on that day?
I just like. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know because like they would put us. They would force us to put the Red Bulls in a like EA bottle because we can't have them like on stage. They literally don't let us have anything branded. Yeah, I don't know.
The
they don't have.
They sponsored the event.
I don't know.
Is sponsored by Red Bull.
Every single event, even Monsters, like when Monster used to sponsor, like we had to put them in cans, like or the cans that were like branded by EA or just like no logos. And I think it's because like from what I heard is like, this event is sponsored by Monster or Red Bull, but then the actual venue, they have their own sponsor, like they're sponsored by Pepsi or something. So like you're not allowed to like, show it on stream or something. It's like weird, but I don't know. But yeah, it was so I was just drinking it like it was water, and I obviously like I would just pour it in there, and I don't know how many cans I put in there or like how much I've been drinking, but at least maybe like 3 or 4 max, I think. Nothing too crazy. Because I was trying to focus, or not focus, but like make sure that I don't drink too much Red Bull, because if I drink too much Red Bull, then I can't sleep, and then I'm fucked for the next day. Mm-hmm. So like it had to be like a balance of like, make sure that I'm awake that day, but then not too much to the point where I'm fucked the next day.
Yeah, because I can't remember if it was you or Waltzy that mentioned it when we talked to you guys last time, just about like when you guys were in that match point final for EWC, for example, and like 13 games straight. But like when you're getting to end game so many times, and like you guys got like top 5 every single game for quite a while, where it's like that drains your mental more than, so like, when you're playing these games, and like we said, like you guys won most of the sets, so you guys were like getting those end games, so you're playing 18 games straight, full 20-minute games, right?
Yeah.
There's like really no hesitation there. Of the sets, was there any of them that like stuck out to you like specifically? But sorry, and continue what you were gonna say. Sorry, I know I jumped.
I was just gonna say like, like, do you bring up like a good point? Like if I was just spectating and doing bad or like doing mediocre, like I have so much more downtime, right? To just kind of chill. But like since we were doing so well, it's like, you said we were playing way more than literally anybody else in the tournament, like not even close. Mm-hmm. Because not only we were playing through losers bracket, but we were winning like half the blocks. Yeah. Right? Which means that we were, performance wise playing more each game. Yeah. What was what were we talking about?
I said like, was there like, of the sets though, was there any of them that like stuck out that was like there's, I feel like some of them, you guys dropped like 100 points a couple of times, so it's like, okay, those just feel easy. But were there any that were like, really got intense for you guys after? Because we didn't get to see all of them.
Not really. Like after we made it, like went down to losers bracket, it kind of like felt easier. in a way. I don't know, like it wasn't like anything crazy personally. It just felt like the main thing to me was like the group stages or the lower brackets, whatever you want to call it, felt way harder than finals was itself. Like, you know, the lobby quality was way better. Nobody was just kind of inting constantly. You know, when it came to finals, there was repeatedly, you know, the same 3 to 5 teams just dying early. You know, I remember like the one game where it ended Neon Square that we won and I was on Ballistic. Like I remember looking and there was like 13 teams alive, third or fourth zone. So it was like a scrim basically. So outside of that, like I remember also vividly, like I don't think it was. I think it was a block that we almost got knocked out, like ninth, I think.
Yeah.
Like back to back EDM zones or some bullshit. And we had to fight Navi coming from Energy Bank. They had like red armor, double red armor, Kraber, PK. They had ballistic, crypto, and you know the usual shit. And they fought us in Galleria. We just had like a straight 3v3, and they like literally lost the fight. And I was just like, what? How? Like we should have died. Like if we lost that fight, I think we didn't even qualify. Because but like their like team fighting was like so bad. I just don't know how we won that fight because it was like it's Navi. They have, you know, double care pack weapon. You know, they have abilities on us. They had everything to win the fight, and they just like fucked it up. So that was like the main like thing that like surprised me. But I'm sure they were like mental boom because they were like bottom 3 for a majority of the like that block, I think. So, but yeah, outside of that, all the blocks were kind of like normal. I feel like, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, it was as far as the actual the blocks that you guys were playing, things seemed to be going pretty well after you guys went down into the elimination bracket. Then things start to ramp up a little bit on those. You get to the finals, you're seeing like 13 teams, and it seems like they're the same couple teams. Was it just like in your head, you're just like, we could take this so easy right now, even though Alliance was like really high above in the early like couple games?
When we were in finals, like I don't know, like the main thing, I wasn't like really playing well the first 2 or 3 games. Like I made like a huge mistake in Monument. I feel like that cost us like a lot of points. So I don't know. We recognized obviously Alliance was like farming, but after the first game, we had like a 12-point game or something, like a double digit game. We had a lot of kills. Zero was like, you know, saved the hell out of that game. By the way, but he I don't know, when we had that really good game in the very beginning, I was like, okay, this is like you know, this is gonna be easy. Like we could do well here. Like we were confident after getting 11th pick. Like we won the losers finals, and I was like, you know, we got 11th pick. There's 4 maps. We're gonna be still able to have at least like 2 good POIs. You know, if obviously it was like less maps, you know, lower. I feel like a lower pick would have been worse. But having 4 maps being played, I feel like helped having a lower seed. So it wasn't that bad. But yeah, like in finals, it was kind of, we've always like we had that mentality as soon as we went into it, like we were going to win. Like especially me, like I was like tweeting out, you know, that we were going to win 2 days before finals even happened, even without even knowing that we were going to make it or not. So I don't know. I just had like this like delusional confidence, and I don't know. I felt like very individually like confident in my gameplay, especially before scrims. I feel like I was playing like very well. So yeah.
Yeah, it definitely showed with how everything played out. Obviously, you win the MVP of the tournament. There was 2 other things though that were new to the open format, and that was Broken Moon entered in, and then also the Legend Band system that you guys have been using in Pro League. But this was like the first LAN event where it kind of took place. From your perspective, how did those 2 things play out? Because I know for a long time, at least in scrims and in Pro League a little bit, people weren't the biggest fans of Broken Moon. And then as far as the legend bans, how'd you feel that played out in the open?
I think the ban system is like one of the best things that they like introduced in the game. Because you know not everyone's like stuck on playing on the same thing every single game for, you know, the entire tournament. I think it was mainly because like we personally as a team hated like playing Newcastle, Gibby, Rampart meta, even though we were, you know, we did pretty well in Sapporo with that. We even had a chance to win, but I don't know. I feel like it just allows teams to kind of showcase a lot of their skill in so many ways, you know, with having a deeper legend pool and having more experience and whatever, like playing multiple characters. I feel like there's literally just no downside to it at all. So yeah, the legend band system is great. I have like zero problem with it. I feel like it's kind of but like saved comp in a way, or a lot. So yeah, I feel like it was great. And then what was the other thing?
Broken Moon.
Broken Moon, yeah. I don't know. Broken Moon notoriously is like really shit in scrims. Like people, for some reason, when they play on that map, everyone's kind of like killing each other really early. And like it's like the worst quality games are on that map. Obviously because I think like how the map is laid out, there's a lot of choke points. There's not a lot of playable area. It's kind of like Olympus in a way. So I don't know. It didn't seem that bad. Like it seemed fine at the tournament. I thought like this entire time that like that map was going to be really bad, because trying to rotate or like getting over mountains and trying to get in a zone, like certain zones, it's like if you don't have Valk, like you're just fucked basically. So I don't know. Like I feel like it's fine, but I feel like it's definitely the worst map in comp currently, like by far. So I don't know what they're gonna do, if they're gonna make changes, but it's not to the point where I feel like it needs to be removed ASAP. Definitely needs to be like tuned or like modified, the map itself. So we'll see what they do.
There was one more. Oh, sorry. You could go ahead. I was just gonna say there's one more new thing that the event that we did experience, and that was the flip flop buff. Like, how do you think having the dogs out on match point finals helped you play
Let's get to this.
so good in those last 3 games?
That was the first time I ever pulled them out, like
That's
ever
what I mean.
in any LAN. So I like woke up that day, like I kind of like slept like shit the day before or the night before that, or the night of, I guess. And I was like, bro, like I'm pulling up and not giving a single fuck. Like I want to, like I'm being comfortable. Like I want to be comfortable. I'm here to like, we're here to win. So I'm going to take every single inch I could possibly can. And if I have to bring the flops out and like be as comfortable as I can, I'm going to do it. So I did it. I knew people were going to say something, like, especially if we won. So I was like, why not? It's just going to be memed, whatever, who cares? So yeah, just like more so like I want to be comfortable, and I felt more comfortable playing, with the flip flops, I guess. So
yeah, I'm curious what the statistics are. I wonder if other people have played in the flip flops before and not won, or if this is like 100% win rate. And now
I think it's 100% win rate. I don't think I've ever seen anyone else like play on flip flops.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now my question is, when I saw the flip flops, because watching in the pit, I started to realize that there are a lot of Apex Legends pros who do some weird stuff underneath that table with their feet. They'll go crisscross applesauce. They'll go shoes off, socks off, all that kind of stuff.
Socks off, shoes.
I saw somebody
Which, I
go
mean,
socks
you were
off.
socks off, but like if
not.
you have socks on and then take them off to compete,
I shit you not. I saw somebody
crazy.
with socks off in the pit. Anyway, when you're wearing the flops on the stage, were the feet fully like firmly in the flops, or was there any point throughout where you took them off?
I was locked in controller stance and like not obviously above the table, but under the table. Like my legs were just straight up, just 90-degree angle, nothing like not stretched out or anything. Like I was sitting on the edge of my seat because I hate armrests touching my leg or arms. So I'm like literally sitting on the very edge so the armrests don't hit me. But yeah, like I'm just like fully locked. Flip flops are on, and playing.
Okay, I was just making sure because I didn't know if it was a situation where like involuntarily you kind of slip them off as you're playing.
No.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
Just making sure. I wasn't getting that freaky.
The most serious no.
Listen, if we were getting past 10 games, I might have had to do it.
Yeah, who knows at that point?
Yeah.
You got to go for the comfortability there. I also think, like, to bring up the flip-flop point, I also think too in the future if they do the open format, maybe if they cut down like 40 teams, there could be enough money to potentially just have like a porta-john right behind you, because this is the second time you've come on the show and either almost shit or pissed your pants.
Okay, that's true. That is true. The EWC, I was just like dying, like because I was sick. But like that was, I don't know that. Listen, I like it was funny too because I brought it up to my team when they had that hour-long break. I was like, what did they? If I have to really piss. Like, what am I going to piss myself on the stage because you're going to stop me? What are you going to do if I run to the bathroom? Like, you're going to stop me? Am I going to get DQ'd? Like, what do you genuinely do if you really have to piss or take a shit? Like, what do you do? Like, you have to AFK. Like, I always thought that, like, when the EWC thing, like, I literally was so sick and I, like, had to use the bathroom constantly. And in my mind, I was so worried that I had to do it in the middle of the game. because like, are they going to allow me to do it? What am I going to do if that does happen? Like, I'm just going to just shit myself while I'm playing, like just let it rip and just keep playing, like as if nothing happened. Like, I'm just going to say on the mic, like, guys, if you hear something, just close your ears. I like, genuinely, like, what do you do? Sometimes you just have to go. But I haven't seen a single like time that has happened yet. So
yeah.
Would you piss yourself on stage if you had to? Would you just tank it?
I would.
Or would you risk the DQ?
I would take it.
That's interesting.
That's
I,
so
I
sick.
specifically remember you saying you would not shit yourself on stage. You said if you had to during the ABC leave, you would
okay, well, shitting and pissing, two different things.
No,
very different.
I just like to know the different levels of commitment here. No,
to be fair, I don't think I would have made it to the bathroom if I had a shit, like take a shit. Like, that would have been like way more embarrassing. But
I think you've drawn a really good line here. I think like the line here is like, I will piss myself to win this tournament. I won't shit myself though. Like, that's a perfect line to draw.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, we cut down a few teams. We get some bathrooms nearby the Falcons booth. I think everything's going to work out just okay. It's also funny you bring it up, like, what are you going to do to stop me? That'd be funny if they said, we're going to put a hood over you and we're going to have people carry you out to go to the bathroom so you don't see anything. It's just a wild situation to be in.
What would they even see? Like, what is even the risks there? Like,
they just think that
especially
people
when
can
it's
cheat.
like paused.
They think that people could cheat by like maybe the game is paused. Like if you go to the bathroom, you walk by other people's setups. You walk by like literally 10 teams setups, and you can see their screen and where they're at. So you gain so much information possibly by walking up. Because every time you go to the bathroom, you can see everyone's screen. Like when you're on the side stage, even on main stage.
To be slightly fair, I did hear that there was a long pause at one moment where there was a player or coach that wasn't supposed to stand up. I don't remember who it was, but stood up and was walking around and was just standing behind other teams' computers staring at the zone information, and they didn't have zone. And then that game ended up getting canceled, so it didn't matter. But like the player, like they did just go stand behind other people and stare at screens. And
I didn't hear that.
And I do remember it being like, I don't remember who it was, but I do remember it being like someone who's like in pro league, been to LANs before and everything like that, just fucking chilling, watching screens there.
That's crazy.
So yeah. You had a question before, or sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say one thing is, speaking of looking at screens, I remember when we were on main stage at one point, I said on stream before, I don't know if it was like winner's bracket or loser's bracket, but I was telling Zero, I was like, we're on the very first booth in the main stage. I'm like, Zero, like we can literally see Nice Wig's like screen from here while we're playing.
I didn't even think about that. The first booth of absolutely.
Yeah, you have full, like even in the second booth too, you can literally just see like this, Nice Wig's like watch party screen like the entire time. Like you could just be like seeing like where, like obviously it's too fucking small to see like where teams are, but like you can just see where the zone's going. Basically, that's like the only kind of thing. But
he was watching your lobbies too. I'm pretty sure he was watching all.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. So
booth one buff.
Yeah,
huge.
That's the first time I've seen that happen. Usually because the watch party is not like that close. It's always like in a completely different area. So that's like the first time that's ever happened.
You had something before.
Yeah. So we had talked about Broken Moon. What are your thoughts on E District for comp?
I love E District. I think that map is great. Like even in ranked and comp, like I have no problem with that map. I feel like the only issues, like some zones are kind of like insane, like third zone pulls, but like that's the game, so it's like whatever. But it's my favorite map to play on, so yeah, I have nothing bad to say really about that map personally.
Yeah, because I guess I didn't even realize we talked to you before Japan happened. I think like we talked a lot about like what you guys expected like coming up to Japan, but we didn't talk about the fact like you guys got third there, pretty big freaking event and everything like that. I know you guys said you didn't really like the meta, but if we even wanted to like briefly touch upon like what you guys thought about your performance there, especially it was the first tournament after Germany and a lot of the talk that was coming out of that event. What are you guys thinking, or what did you guys think after that? How are you feeling?
We were pretty like disappointed. Like we really wanted to win. But like I feel like I know we had like one or two opportunities to do like to close it out, but it was like, like one play away from winning the tournament. So it's like pretty big bummer when you're that close to lose. But I don't know. Like it kind of is. It is what it is. It's been a while since then, but yeah, I don't know. Like we were. I know Wolsey took it very harshly. I don't know if it's because he blamed himself or he felt like, I don't know, he just felt like bad because we were so close to winning. And I don't know, he thought we were going to win, but then we didn't. So yeah, I don't know. But he took it very harshly after the tournament. I took it like, I don't know. I took it very like chill. I don't know. Like we had, I said like we had one opportunity in that 8 straight game and we fucked it, and it was kind of like, all right, whatever. And sometimes you just can't win every single time. Like I know we want to win every single time, but it's like, I don't know. It is what it is. We had one opportunity. We didn't really like fuck it up. Like we kind of just got griefed by unlucky for whatever reason. I don't know what he was doing, but yeah, that's just how I saw it. Like I was like, we can't win every single time. So usually when you try to win a match point final, it's like you have that one game, and if you don't win that one game, you're more than likely going to be fucked for the rest of the tournament because this is how it goes. So yeah.
Does it hurt more finishing like in like the bottom 10 versus like finishing top 5, but you had the chance to win the tournament?
No, well, it depends like how, like what the situation was to win the tournament. Like, was it me losing a 1v1? Was it me, what was it like? Was I involved? Like fully involved? Was it fully my fault or whatever? Like whose fault was it in the first place? Like, I think overall, like it's definitely worse to get 20th because it's just like you're just like defeated the entire time. Like you also don't expect to get 20th as a team, like ever. I thought I would never do worse than 17th on TSM. So then going 20th, it was like even way worse. Like the entire time, like I went to vacation right after like 20th place, and I was just like, all I was thinking about was Apex. It was just like that bad. But yeah, I don't know. Like definitely way worse to get bottom 10 or even bottom 5. But it obviously depends. Like if you lose the game or tournament and it was your fault, then that's gonna like haunt you forever. So hopefully, thankfully, I haven't been in that situation. So yeah.
It was I think as time passes with this open, I think it's going to start looking more and more impressive to the people who watched, or for people who are historians of the ALGS and just kind of think about the road to get here. Obviously playing the most games, going through the elimination bracket, all that is absolutely insane. And I know right now it doesn't feel like it's the best one because you said that finals lobby was kind of just, a bunch of newer teams that had kind of squeaked in there. But I do think that statistically, like this is one of the craziest accomplishments we've ever seen. And it is kind of crazy how this team had gotten that 20th place, and there was a lot of pressure on you guys. There was a lot of talk about you guys and what you guys were able to accomplish. When that moment finally hit, when you guys won, was it like, okay, the super team arc, we have finally achieved what we set out to do? It was like we reached that pinnacle.
Yeah. That was that like exactly kind of what I feel like. I don't know how Walsey felt like exactly, but obviously at first it felt anticlimactic. Zero felt like it was easy. It kind of felt easy. It was, I don't know, it was kind of weird because we kind of like didn't go crazy like Alliance did, but then all of a sudden we win a game, we're on match point, and then we just win back to back. So it was kind of like, okay, that was like pretty quick. Didn't expect that, but I know Zero was more taking it as like a relief than more so of like a high, or like a happiness, because there was like a lot of rumors that we're going to split up if we do bad, blah 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 after a tournament. Obviously there's high expectations constantly. We went through losers bracket, so I'm sure Zero was feeling pressure, like a lot of pressure the entire time as an IGL. So like after we kind of made it through everything, it was kind of like a relief to him. He didn't seem as like, he didn't like start jumping up and like celebrating like it was like the greatest win of his life ever. It was like the shortest match point finals ever, the quickest one. And obviously we did come from losers finals, but I don't know, like we all expected to win. So then when we do it, it was kind of like, okay, we did our job. Now go back home. Like it was like, the high is like, it would have been different. I feel like if we went, if we had to work for it, we had to work for it before we went to finals. So when we got to finals, it didn't feel like that hard to win. We won back to back. We were given a zone. The game was pretty free. We didn't have to go 10 games. We didn't have to play from edge and kill everyone, drop a 20 bomb to get the match point or anything like that. Like it was kind of like simple gameplay. So like, yeah, that's how we kind of felt as a team, to be honest.
I think it's almost kind of deserved in a way because you guys had played the most games, you guys had done all that stuff, and even though it felt free in the moment, like you guys definitely had to work for it. Like it wasn't no walk in the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks because I keep hearing you guys say, "Oh, it was the freest win, is the freest win," and like no one's gonna sit here and deny that last game, like it was probably the easiest game any match point final has felt. Right? Like we all said it. Like we saw you guys go there, Alliance, Alcadzia over there, and then Furia, who are the closest teams to the spot. None of them were able to hit Beacon or Console to be able to get there. So like, there's so many reasons why that specific game was really easy. But the entire journey was pretty difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to say, too, is like, if you're looking back at it, I feel like, the entire tournament, other than the finals, it felt kind of like practice for us. And since it was so hard, we practiced so hard to the point where when it came down to the real deal, like finals, it felt easy because we went through like the hardest journey or point to get to that point. So then when we, were able to reset, get a good sleep, didn't have to play in the morning and had to play at 4 p.m., they gave us time to sleep, gave us time to actually eat and rest. It was like, okay, like we just went through hell. Now it's just time to this is the easy part. So, yeah.
Losers round buff?
Yeah. Literally, kind of. I don't know. It's weird because that's the first time. It's like the worst time to be in losers bracket ever, like in any Apex tournament ever, because there's so many teams, and that's the first time anyone's ever won for losers bracket. So it's like, I feel like if it was anyone else, like losers bracket would not be a buff. So I don't know. Like we kind of just had iron mentality, and even though we were just winning losers bracket, it gave us a lot of confidence to be like, yeah, we got a good pick still, even with 4 maps, and we can easily win this. So yeah.
So this was the first LAN win as for Falcons, since you guys have formed the super team, and now Waltzy has his first win under his belt. Do you think that now that a decent amount of that pressure is alleviated from the squadron as a whole, that this is going to be the start of a Falcons golden age?
I'd hope so. I don't know. I feel like I would hope that the pressure is not not alleviated. I want the pressure to be there, not just for me, for my teammates, because I feel like there's sometimes people can get complacent. People be like, yeah, we just won. Now we can it's chill and it's not that serious anymore. We did what we had to do. Now we can tank next tournament or whatever. But I'm hoping, like I said, that pressure's still on because we play better and it makes people not complacent. For me personally, I feel like the pressure's still on. I kind of put the pressure upon myself. It's not really a thing that I kind of get from the outside in, from my viewership and Reddit, whatever. So I kind of just put it upon myself. So the outside doesn't mean anything. It does, but it doesn't, because I already do it to myself in a way. So that's how I kind of keep myself in line constantly, but not get too complacent and be I just hit 1 million. I did this, I did all this, blah blah blah. It's time for me to relax. No, it's not. I'm only 25 years old or about to be 26. I have a lot more time to play, and I can keep going. I can do more shit. So that's kind of how I see it. And I know another thing is that I know we all really want to win EWC. That's a huge goal for our entire team and Falcons, obviously, because we were supposed to win the last one. We were in first in points the entire tournament. We just lost because of match point. So, yeah, I know Zero really wants to win. It's a new trophy, first EWC win for all of us. We've never won EWC before. So, yeah, I just know that Zero is looking forward to winning EWC and playing EWC. So I'm excited for it, because if he's locked in, then we're all locked in. So yeah.
I feel like that kind of leads into something I was curious to ask you about. I mean, you mentioned you're the first player in Apex to just cross 1 million. You've obviously had a ton of other success in your career with streaming and the whole likes of it at this point. And like you came from like H1Z1, like a lot of other pros in this scene. Apex was their first game being a pro player, but you actually competed in a pro league. There's LANs, like big, like 60 player tournaments, like in person, shit like that. But then that tournament shut down. Like, were you ever worried about your future at that point with like, you know, competing in esports in general? And do you ever look back on it now and just see how far you've come? And what do you think of that?
I don't know, with my like idea with like, you know, esports back in the day, I kind of just like, my parents were always like pushing me to do well in school. And that was kind of like my number one priority, because if I didn't do well in school, then I wouldn't be able to have, my parents wouldn't spend money on my hobbies like gaming, you know, wouldn't be able to buy games, new, you know, controller, consoles, whatever. So like, you know, if I did well in school, I would have my happiness with gaming, right? So like I had to do well in school. So like the entire time, you know, when I was playing H1 and that was like, you know, went to hell like pretty quickly and died out, I wasn't really worried about it. You know, like I always kind of just played games for fun, but I was really good at it because that was all I did outside of school. And that was like all I did out in my free time. So I kind of just like, I just kind of just, for a long time, I kind of just played games and I kind of went with the flow. Like I was just kind of sailing at the boat, and then until I kind of like hit something or found land, it was like kind of just chilling. So that's kind of how I went with it. I didn't take it. I never thought in my mind like, yeah, I want to be a pro esports player. I want to stream. I definitely did not want to stream. I never thought I would be a streamer. I didn't think I would like to do it. My dad, you know, pushed me to do it, but basically, like I was never worried because I never focused on it. I never wanted to believe that I could get here to this point. I didn't want to get my hopes up because I knew like the traditional way of life is going to school, getting a degree, and getting a job, right? Normal job. So that's what I was expecting to do. But, you know, I got lucky along the way with, you know, T Hump and Prod like picking me up because they knew me from H1. So, and then I got lucky that TSM didn't just drop me and allowed me to, you know, build around the team or build the team. So, you know, there was a lot of like, you know, there's like luck, but also like, you know, I deserved to be there to a degree. So it kind of just like met up at the perfect time. And obviously, like my dad was a big like influence in a lot of that. You know, he was always like the one allowing me to like, you know, play games, buy me games, and he was the one that allowed me to go to Vegas and move to Vegas so I could play in the H1Z1 Pro League and stop school because I was in college at the time. I like only did one semester and left, and so I could go and make money. And you know, school was always around if I had to go back, so it wasn't a big deal. But yeah.
And now, like, when you go into that path, you had said that there was like that traditional life path that a lot of people have to go through, go to college, get a degree, do all of that. It has its own problems, but then you traded, you know, those problems for some different ones when it comes to being a streamer and your face being on screen all the time for people to make their own assumptions about you and judge about you. And I think the entire intro of our last podcast together was the entire situation with Jen, and like everybody was kind of on your guys' ass for no reason. And there was like just a lot of things going on behind the scenes, a lot of problems that you guys have had to deal with. And then going into this tournament, there was even more problems. Like there was a lot of people saying you guys weren't going to make it as a team. There was clips popping up of like an argument between you, Zero, all that different kind of stuff. When it came to this event, was that kind of all put in the rearview mirror, or was there still some of that lingering, that in that moment where you get up to hug Zero, when you guys have finally reached this point together, it was like all that, this is why we did this. We toss all that away, and this is exactly why we teamed up.
Yeah, that's, you know, at the end of the day, we're professional players. You know, obviously we don't always act that way. You know, we say things, stupid things, and whatever. We act like unprofessional players. We're not like the level of as NFL athletes and NBA and etc. But you know, I feel like after that, you know, big argument on stream, it was like very needed. It kind of felt like it was like a volcano, kind of like just lingering around and then just blew up. And you know, the volcano feels way better, right? So like, I need to get shit off my chest. Zero need to get shit off his chest. Zero's afraid of saying anything because of my viewership and blah 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 blah, etc. Whatever. But like, you know, it's funny. I was like, yeah, you know that argument was bad, but like, you know, I feel like it was needed. Like it was definitely needed. We started to play a lot better. we kind of shit, like I said, like we got shit off our chests, and I was like, yeah, like, you know, shit has been going bad, but like I just have a feeling we're gonna win. Like, you know, everything seems like shit. You know, everyone's expecting us to do shit. We're gonna split up, but like, yeah, we're gonna win. Yeah, I just thought it that back in my head the entire time. So, but yeah, like that outside noise is always going to be there, especially with like, you know, my viewership and stuff like that. So, like, it's just part of the job. Most people like genuinely cannot handle it, like not to any close degree that I deal with. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Poor Walty, man. I saw you, him, and Draugr on Media Day. Walk up. I'm like, "What's up, dude? How you doing?" He's like, "Oh, everything's going good. Just every single person's asking me if my teammates hate each other now." Like, it's like, oh man, like, I can't even believe they're asking you about that already.
Well, yeah, well, people were literally like walking up to zero, like, so like you guys splitting up. Like this was before they even LAN started. Like people were like, other players were walking up to zero. Like his friends were like, yeah, so like, you guys splitting up or like what's going on?
You LF1? You who's getting dropped? You or Hal?
Like, bro, like we're not even like we haven't even started playing yet. Like
these guys are like, shit, now they won. There's my L.
Yeah.
I like secretly always thought like I've told this like the Wall team and Zero, like people are, you know, like even though we have friends, but like these guys are like secretly just like wanting us to burn, like just slow, like you know we're friends and all, but like in the game, like they just hope we just like do terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you know we are who we are. So, but yeah, it's just kind of funny.
It is a weird reaction, like sitting in the crowd, because now this is my third event I've been to. I went to LA, Japan, and then this one. And the different reactions you get from people in the crowd when you bring up the name Falcons, it's just so, it's so different. Like you never know what you're going to get from somebody.
Well, yeah, there's like, you know, super team haters, there's just Zero haters, there's people hating I don't IGL anymore, there's, you know, Falcons from Saudi Arabia haters, blah, 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 like, you know, blah, 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 like so many different topics you could possibly, you know, choose from because they're a hater, so they're just going to find something to, you know, pick, you know, to hate on. So, apparently I saw something, I think in Twitch chat, someone said that we were the only team to get booed or heard boos. Like every other team didn't, like when we were walking on finals.
Oh, I didn't
hear it. I'm sure it was a 100 Thieves fan for sure. Like
I should
100%.
I sit at the front and yell for every team, so I can't hear anyone else.
I don't know, but like someone said that in Twitch chat, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really surprised at all. So, but yeah,
it's crazy. It's just an interesting reaction to all that different kind of stuff. But there was one fan that when I went back and I was kind of like watching over the VOD of what went down, there was one fan in the front, and I just want to ask for her sake, did you see the sign that said Latinas for Hal?
Yeah.
Funniest sign I've ever seen. Okay, I just want to see if you saw it.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah. It was funny. It was funny. Listen, my girlfriend was there, and I was like, you know, out of, you know, respect, I'm not like, you know, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I don't see that. It doesn't exist. But yeah, I saw it. It was funny.
I just saw that sign randomly. The funny thing was, I was sitting very close to where that was. I just didn't see it until I went back and watched it, and I was like, that's hilarious.
That entire time, like we were sitting on the side, like before walkouts, and we're just sitting against the wall, like next to the stands, and the entire time I just see that like sign in my face, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
I was pissed they put you guys to the far left. We sat dead center and couldn't even see Falcons right in front of us. Right.
You mean like where we're sitting? Or?
Yeah, you guys are on the far left. Like like if we were talking loud enough, like Alliance could hear us, for example.
Yeah, we like we got to pick. You get to pick like within the order of your seed. So since we were 11th, we were the 11th team to pick like where we were on the main stage, and there was only like. The only things that were available were like 2 spots, but they were all went left, and everything else at the top was available. So everyone usually picks at the bottom.
Bottom. Typically. Wait, were you top bunk or bottom bunk?
They were bottom bunk.
Bottom bunk. Finally want to land on bottom bunk. We talked about this last time.
I remember that. So many records broken. So many
from any level.
Like, this LAN.
Yeah. LANs have been won from the bottom now. I think a lot of them last year where it was just Hal's LAN for the first time. I think was at the bottom.
First time bottom. First time flip flops. First time losers bracket.
So much.
6 games.
This is
all of it.
You need to talk to us before because this is the stats that are going to help you win consistently every time.
Yeah.
No, it's incredible. It was awesome to see you guys pull it off, and I know it was E's first event. E, did you have anything else before you wanted to ask him the final question?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I would not have minded if you guys let me get a couple more games in, because like that was my first one. I had driven 7.5 hours in the morning, and dude, when I saw that zone, I looked at Wyatt and I was like, "Listen, I'm not even gonna be mad if Falcons wins this." But I was just honestly, I was just glad that Alliance didn't end it in 4, because I would have been pissed.
Yeah, no, I would have been pissed too if they did that. But like, I did feel bad when we won in 6. I was like, damn, that was pretty quick. Like, I expected way before the tournament. I was like, yeah, we're gonna have like the longest Apex match point finals ever. Like, we have a ban system, we have 4 maps, like we have random teams. Like, everyone's just gonna grief each other constantly. Like, this is gonna be fucking just a shit show. And then it was like the polar opposite.
I think that actually attributed to it being fast, because of the fact like I was talking to a bunch of the guys. I'm sure you've talked to them too. They forgot where you guys were landing. They didn't know what characters you picked. Did you guys change skins or characters before lobby and then just select in game?
I remember Walty brought up like, hey, we got to pick like, stupid characters, like random ass characters beforehand. I think that was after the game we won. So I'm assuming when we were in lobby, like I remember me picking Maggie.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, like I remember I was on Maggie, like default, before character select. I don't know what Walty was on, but like I know me and Walty for sure was on like some random ass character, and then Zero was I think on his normal one. I think Bang.
Pricey says to me, he goes, I couldn't, he goes, we kind of forgot to check their skins before game. He goes, but I thought I did. He goes, and I saw Maggie. He goes, I saw Wraith, and then who'd you guys play? Who's your third in the last game? Watson. He goes, I saw Watson. And I go, no, it was Bang was the last one. He goes, damn, Bang. And so, like, I think they were looking for a Maggie team the whole time. So, wow, that's crazy.
Well, like, the whole thing that happened was, like, Strafing Flame thought we were playing Fuse for whatever reason, because we usually do play Fuse. Yeah. But, like, we're not going to play that from fucking survey camp. Like, we don't have loot for that. So, like, he saw the other team had Fuse, and was like, yeah, we got to int them. Like, he didn't think about like, where are they landing, what did they have to play, like, etc. So
I think he decided that literally in the last moment, because he goes down. He goes down, then he just goes, it's the North team, because I'm pretty sure they had track of you guys, and then they had track of you guys, and as soon as you guys went to the tracks,
he didn't know that it was us. North, like he just wanted to kill us because he knew we were in a shit spot. And he was playing Maggie. Like, he could have definitely killed us if he had one of his teammates helping him. But, like, since I portaled on him and was, like, making him kind of, like, flustered, he, like, literally over-focused us and then died to the team up the hill. And then that was at a point where, like, he kind of, like, made a panic call. It was like, okay, like, you're not going to be able to res me here. Like, we just have to int and make sure the tournament keeps going.
Okay. So, yeah. No, that was probably the most interesting part of that game, was like some of that stuff that happened in the final zone. But like I said, I think all those factors where we were all saying this is going to make it the longest match point final ever, instead worked on the opposite. 4 maps. I think the POI draft was hard too, because everyone just like forgot, well, where is everyone landing right now? And then realized you guys were survey shit.
Yeah, people were really like paying attention. Like Mac didn't even know we were on match point. According to him, like he didn't even know. His teammates knew, but like they weren't even like worrying about that in their moment at all. Like they were just like playing the game to win. So it was kind of weird, but there was just like so many things that happened in our favor in that game, like with Babo like not taking our building, and I realized that we left the building, and then like Twisted Minds taking the building instead of inting us, like and then so many things went our way. It was like insane to like think about. So yeah, I'll take it. Like, give me some, like at some point, like we just went through hell, like give me something. For once.
I do have one final bone to pick, and it's not even really your fault. It's more Zero, I would say. But I've had this theory that there are certain teams that when they celebrate in a particular way, it's a championship celebration. I'm like, that team's going to win. That celebration at the end, I think, single-handedly destroyed anything about championship celebrations, because that, you talk about an anticlimactic game, that might have been the most anticlimactic celebration I've ever seen.
Yeah. I got up, excited or whatever, and I think Kyle was like probably the most excited out of all of us, like the coach. Zero, like I said, he kind of was. I think he looked. I don't know what he said. He looked at me and said something, but I think he said something about like, that was too easy or something like that. Like he felt like he didn't work for it, and we're very like competitive players, like all of us on the team. So like when we feel like we kind of like were gifted it, it didn't feel as good. You know, we've been in a position before where we had to work for it. You know, there was like big competition or whatever, but like, you know, when we feel like we kind of got gifted, it didn't feel like as rewarding or like satisfying. So it was a bit anticlimactic. Like Walty was like probably the worst when it came to like the celebration.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how he was feeling, but yeah.
That was the part that bothered me too, because I was like, Waltzy finally won, and he was kind of just sitting there, and
Yeah,
I just expected a little bit more. I think.
Well,
No,
yeah.
I know. Well, I expected the same thing. Like, I was surprised that he like reacted that way. Maybe like I don't know. I've never even asked him why he was like that, but like he's never really like a type of person to like get very like excited or like emotional in a way.
Yeah.
So like I was not surprised at the same time that he didn't like get up and start like fucking celebrating or whatever. But
we're talking Waltzy, right?
yeah, Walter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Like
So-
Zero freaks the fuck out.
Zero usually freaks out too,
Yeah.
but like I said, he thought
Yeah.
it was too easy. Walty just I don't know what he thought, to be honest, but
Like
yeah.
the Japan, when you guys won a game in Japan and like you and Zero jump up and you guys are streaming and Walty's just still in his chair like this,
Yeah.
that's you guys
Yeah.
are.
Well, he just
around
like
him,
always business first. Walty's always business first. In that game when we won in Sapporo, it was like I had a big crash out before that, and we were like doing shit. So like when we drop a big ass game like that, like we had to work for that kind of.
Yeah,
But like kind of like we're gifted that because Alliance was trolling that game, the Siphon ending, but we got a lot of damn kills compared to the win that we had in this land. Like we had like 5 kills or something, I think.
Mhm.
So it was like the complete opposite. But
the B-roll
this is-
of that celebration is sick. Like I have the
Yeah.
B-roll footage of it, like from the back of you guys, and it's so sick. Like it.
yeah, I'm sure. Like I know like they did the B-roll or like a video with us winning, like the aftermath,
Mhm.
which is really cool. Like saying getting congratulated by other teams and other players, and giving everyone hugs and like handshakes and stuff like that. I think that was like very sick, and I feel like they should always do that, for every LAN win. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
And like, so yeah.
It was really cool. It was.
I
think
one last
you have
question.
another one?
And I hope this doesn't go too long, but yeah.
No, it's all right.
The question I wanted to know, this is something I've always been curious about for a while, because I remember a clip way back hearing Raven talk about like your like fighting IQ and like how it's just on a different level than everyone else. And this came back to me because I was watching another interview from one of the people after this LAN talking to Zero, and he basically just said that like your understanding of the game on like a minute level is just like unmatched. And like I think the stats back it up. Like this LAN seemed like one of your most dominant performances. Year 3 champs was pretty crazy too. But like yeah, like you just kind of went crazy throughout the entire LAN. And then again, like that's why I even mentioned MVP and everything like that. Do you have any explanation of that? Like almost like, what do you think from your perspective is it that you understand about the game compared to other people in like those small details though? Like something like as simple as like the way that you engage in a fight compared to like other players.
I think like first off, like I feel like why I'm like that or able to do that is just because I play the game like consistently for 6 years straight. Most people, like even Jordan, who was like the only one that was kind of, or Jordan was playing with me, but he was like consistently playing, like the game, like not even close to what I was. So it's like consistently playing the same way, consistently taking fights. Like, when you do something for so long, I have like almost 13,000 hours in Apex, like, and you just do it for so long, it's kind of just like, you feel like a robot in a way. But like one thing I feel like I've kind of learned that a lot of people don't do, or maybe nobody does it, I don't know, but like I always think about like what the opponent is going to do, and I think about what, like, I'm always in their shoes. I'm not thinking about my shoes, right? So like if I always know what the other player is going to do, I can counter that or put myself in an advantage against that. So like that's what I do every single time when I take a fight or when I even make a call. Like I think about, what is this team going to do if I do this? What am I going to do to make sure I don't die or kill him for that? So like that's like my mentality, and I feel like obviously I have to think about what I'm going to do, because I'm not just going to stand there and AFK. But it's like not a lot of people, I feel like, are able to not only play the game but also play the game in other people's shoes, like at the same time. And that's, I feel like, is like a huge difference between me and everyone else. And having that mentality, but then also like doing that for so long, 6 years straight, it's just like it kind of like an instinct thing. Like I feel like I just have like a really good instinct when fighting because I've been doing it for so long. Like Zero doesn't even play the game as much as I do, like since the beginning. Like I have way more hours than he does. So like his game IQ is great, but I feel like he has said it himself. Like my best part is my game IQ or fighting IQ. So I feel like it's just hard work for so long, and that like mentality of like always worrying, not only like thinking about other people's like choices, but thinking about what the worst possibility can happen. Like if I go here, like where's the worst thing that could happen? Like would the team jump on me? Like do we play for the kills? Like I'm always just thinking about the worst case scenario, because if I'm always prepared for the worst case scenario mentally, then like the rest of the game or the rest of the decisions are easy because I already prepared for the worst. So, yeah.
I think it's so interesting you brought that up because before this interview, I was going back and watching all your guys' games, and I think there was a situation that played out exactly how you thought somebody else was going to see what was happening. It was the one on Broken Moon. I think Waltzy's stuck behind one of these like pillars at the core, and you're on one of the ramps walking up, and he's getting shot. And I think a lot of times him and Zero are both getting shot. They're both getting low. I feel like in my situation, if I was playing, I would just run straight to my team to try to help. But you look up, you go down the ramp, you look to your right because you think the team that you guys were originally looking at inside the core, they're going to start peeking out and looking towards that pillar, and you just wait for him to come around, absolutely fry him with the G7. You don't knock him, but you at least force him back, and then you run back to your team. And that was one of those times where I watched it and I was like, I know for a fact a lot of players would have immediately just ran back to the squad. You kind of waited because you knew that guy was going to look over.
Well, yeah, a lot of people like even playing with so long, how do I explain this? It's like when you play certain spots, a lot of people kind of show their hand very quickly. Like, are they going to just sit in their building and not move? Is there a guy on that team that's just running around like a crackhead and like trying to get peaks? Are they playing altar? Like each team has their own way of playing the game. So like when you're in a spot for a little bit, like you kind of know who is going to like play aggressive, who's going to sit around and do nothing. So like you kind of have to play around that. Like you can't just expect to be like, yeah, like we're dying, but like they're so far away, they're not going to just leave the building and run at us. Like, but no, that's not how you play the game. You need to, like I said, expect the worst, and that's what I like try to do almost every single time we play. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool, and I've always been curious because like it's obviously what's separated and helped you succeed so much at this point. Because like you said, it's that instinct that you've developed that I think a lot of other people are just still behind the times with. Yeah, that was it. That was my wrap up question because that's been on my head for years at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. E. Now we've only had one other guest that was on for 3 times. I don't know how you're going to ask this question. The only other person to do was Cody, which by the way, both are top 5 in kills from this event. So shout out us for that. But E, you want to hit him with it?
Shout out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and ask the repeat because I mean, it's going to be the same question, but from a different time period.
Mm-hmm.
And so from the last time you came on to now, what's the most important thing you've learned?
I think the most important thing I've learned is trying to not be an IGL while having experience as an IGL is way harder than it looks, or I thought. Being a fragger or not being in a position to be an IGL is way harder because, like, I always thought I can just not IGL, shut my mouth, don't say anything, but, like, you kind of still are IGLing in a way, or I am on the team right now. I feel like, even Waltzy, when he's playing crypto, there's times where he does IGL because he's telling us, these guys are fighting, they're here, there's this, like, he's kind of telling us, feeding us information, and he kind of IGLing in a way. So I think that, like, the most important thing that I've learned that was, like, I guess surprising was that it's way harder than I thought to not be an IGL. But yeah, that's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know what else, like, would I say other than that? Like, the most important thing I've learned is like, oh, another thing. I think this is like a big thing. This is what I learned after Germany getting 20th is like, I cannot expect anyone else other than probably myself to take criticism or to take any, like, I don't expect anyone else to take criticism or baggage from people the same way as I do. Because I, like, after winners bracket, I've said on stream before, like, I went around and I told Gen and N0 to their face after winners bracket, like, we barely made it to finals. Like, that was the worst fucking 6 games I've ever played with you guys. Like, that was shit. We got lucky. We got gifted the zone. Like, we need to play better. And, coming from someone like me, like, Zero's always been like, I'm an alpha guy, like, blah, 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 blah. But, like, I didn't think about, like, I'm Hal. He respects me a lot, and he's gonna take it like the wrong way, and he's gonna like possibly mental boom, and to some degree. So like, I feel like I can't expect anyone else, like literally anyone else in Apex, to like take what I say and kind of like turn it into like motivation or anything like that, the way I do. And I feel like that was like the biggest thing I've learned like on this team so far is like, there's time and place for me to like say things like that. We're very harsh in scrims, but then when it comes to LAN, I have to be a lot more civil and professional. So I feel like that was like one of the biggest things that I learned and needed to like understand.
That's awesome, man.
That's a pretty big lesson. Like,
it's a big lesson.
Yeah, I feel like that's like something like you've kind of had through your whole career.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's one of those things where, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's one of those things that, for a long time there had been people saying like he goes over the top for this reason or for that reason. And so learning how to deal with the different personalities on the squad, I think is just helpful overall and just in continuing your guys' success as a team.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's, at the time I was like, Zero and Walty, they're going to, or even Jen, like these guys are very competitive players. I thought, we were always going at each other and it was always like high stakes, high tension in scrims. What's the big deal if I do it in tournament? But tournament, like, is way more important. Things can be put aside, feelings and emotions can be put aside. It's not that important. Obviously you get your message across, but like do it in the right way because it's LAN, right? You say anything like wrong or too harsh, it's like it's kind of game over, especially for your IGL, right? Mm-hmm. So and I kind of like, and that also put into perspective, like, when I do like subbing for other people, when I was subbing for other people and I was IGLing, I was like, I feel like I was a lot more civil. I wasn't like so harsh as I usually am, maybe because I was getting back into it, but it kind of gave me perspective, like some people kind of just need to be babied in a way. And not everyone thinks like me or acts like me or takes, shit like, like me. So, and that's okay. I would like it to be like that, but it's not always like that. So it is what it is.
Hear me out. Start subbing for teams and then tear them a new one in scrims and shit like that and just destroy their mental. So then you guys are up.
Then no one will let me sub. Fuck. They would not let me play.
Nah, who's gonna not let Imperial Hal sub for them? Let's be real.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I think that's big. But all right. Well, Hal, usually I end every interview by saying, hopefully the next time we speak to you, you have another trophy. This is the second time you showed up to the show with a new trophy. So I think next time you hop on the show, I would like for you to have like a flip-flop sponsorship of some kind. I think that's the next big step.
I will try. Maybe like I think my flip-flops are like the Tom Hilliger brand.
There we go.
I think that's what it's called.
Tom,
so maybe,
get on it.
They can get on it, and or maybe lacrosse or whatever I think it's called. The brand. So
Lacoste,
Lacoste.
Okay, we got that.
That'd be
okay.
sick.
Oh,
clip it
for EWC finals. With the assumption you make it, you bring in the flops back out.
Oh yeah,
flops are.
I was talking to Falcons the other day. I was like, listen, like you better bring the flops. It's going to be like 40 degrees Celsius. Like it's August in the middle of the desert. Like you better be pulling the flops out. And they said they were like, we were thinking about pulling flops out too for you in the audience.
There you go.
We're gonna wear some too.
Oh my god,
so,
that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, we'll see.
Now, is it gonna be something? Are you gonna wait till finals for it, or are you gonna go the whole whole
I
thing.
think I might just do it for the whole thing.
There we
to
go.
be honest, I think that's the plan.
It'd be understandable given the
Yeah.
circumstances, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, Hal, it's always a pleasure having you on, man. Congratulations on another win, and hopefully we see you soon, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, ladies and gents, that was the CEO, Imperial Hal. Shout out to Hal for hopping on the pod. Always great to talk to him. Fantastic person to talk to, and congratulations to Team Falcons. Boys, normally we do the heart-to-heart here on this section of the show, but for the first time ever, the Apex, the podcast, were in the flesh all together at one time. I do have to start it off by saying, hand up, completely fucked up getting Enoch inside the house. Just absolutely fucked that up. My bad. I saw he left me a voicemail. I didn't even want to go back and listen to it because I was like, damn.
You didn't listen to it?
I opened my
What did it
phone.
say, E? What did it
I
say?
opened my phone and it said, Wyatt is absolutely selling the bag right now. That's my fault, E. That's on me. That's on me.
It happens to the best of us. I'm just thankful I took that. I'm incredibly thankful I took that third stop to take a piss, because I had to piss again by the time that I got there. And there was a really questionable looking porta potty outside of this Airbnb. And I was really like, man, I really just don't. But if I have to, I was going to. And then I was waiting out there. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go sit in my car for a little bit. And then I see Jumba walk down and out the door. And I just open my door. I'm like, Jumba! And then I just grabbed my bags, walked up, and then all was well.
It was actually so funny because, like, good thing my ass was getting up. I didn't even have to be up early that day. I was just getting up early every day. And, like, good thing I did. And then on top of that, the way I found out is he had messaged me on Discord, but I didn't get the Discord notification. Then he added me, Jayhawk, and Wyatt on Twitter and said Wyatt is absolutely dropping the ball right now. Yeah. And I was like, what does that mean? I'm like, is Enoch outside? I go, I think Enoch's outside. And I just walked outside and I'm like looking around. And I think I was about to go back inside until like you stuck your hand out the door and shoved a Jumbo.
Yeah. Now, the funniest part was
that's a good shout.
I was in the room with my fiance. She had left and then she came back in. She was like, oh, by the way, Enoch's here. And I'm just hungover. I'm very hungover at this point. And I go, oh,
just
sick.
one beer. The one beer.
The one additional beer.
I should not have drank.
Beer. He should.
If I had all the other beers I had, but not that last one, I would have been fine. In fact, I would have been great. But I had that one extra one that I shouldn't have had. And then when I woke up, she was like, oh, Enoch's here, by the way. And I was like, oh, sick. And then I turned my phone over and I just see gluttony of notifications. I'm like, oh, God. Oh, no. I fucked this one up. But no, E, from your experience, first time meeting the boys, first time hanging out, how was it? How was the LAN from your perspective?
Oh, dude, the LAN was amazing. Like, overall, like, 10 out of 10 experience, and, like, being able to spend as much time with you guys as I was able to, and like hanging out and like being able to crash on that little pull-out chair at the Airbnb was like made the LAN trip, like just overall, like if I hadn't done that, it probably wouldn't have been nearly as fun as it was. But getting to hang out with all you guys and then getting to meet the GMB boys was also just a great experience, and just like 10 out of 10 would do again. I could definitely do without getting assaulted by my beignet.
Those beignets had a lot of sugar on them, bro.
Dude, literally, and for people that don't know, it's like okay, we're gonna go get beignets before we head to the thing, because I don't think it opened up till 2. Yeah, and we get the beignets and it's just covered in powdered sugar, and I go to take my first bite, and I just accidentally just inhale some powdered sugar, go straight to the back of my throat, and I'm just and then just everywhere. I got it on Connor's back, I got it all over my shirt, and I'm like, there's just no shot. I'm about to go meet a bunch of people that I've been interacting with for 5 years, and I just powder sugar everywhere. And so thankfully I was able to like get things in order before that happened. But I mean, just like from getting just hang out with you guys beforehand to then like everything we were doing after. It was a great time, and I'm definitely grateful for the experience that I had.
No, I wish we got to spend more time together. My fucking flight had to be first thing in the morning. I loved, and we still stayed up late. I went to bed. It was probably about 4 a.m. First worried about Burke. Then Burke gets back, and he's snoring. I can't get to sleep. I had to hit him with a pillow. I finally get to sleep, and my phone rings at 4:40 in the morning. Because who was it? Wyatt, Connor, and there was someone else. It was one other person. You guys locked your asses on the fucking deck in the morning. I watched you guys all walk in. Connor's hammered. You guys are all walking in with your beers drunk. And I'm just wondering why I was the one that got the phone call. Like, there's 13 other people in this Airbnb, and I got the phone call. Like, you had your wives there, and I got the phone call. Oh no, wait, your fiance left. Shit.
No, I was about to take a piss on that deck too. I'm not gonna lie.
I honestly, that's how many beers I had. I did not even remember we went on the deck till you mentioned that right now. I forgot about that. All I remember.
See, I was chilling. I was vibing.
Yeah, he was relaxed, but me and Chris were gonzo.
Was it Chris? I don't even remember who the
Chris
was.
So gone. So the night goes like this. The event ends, and we're like, hey, we want to hit Bourbon Street, and also I want to get like a seafood boil. Enoch has some stuff he's got to like tie up. He's meeting a bunch of people he's talked to and gamed with his whole life. So he's doing this, and we're off. We're doing our thing, but we're going to come together at Bourbon Street. So we walk down Bourbon Street, and we kind of just don't go in anything. We kind of just look. And then Chris makes the executive decision. He's like, I'm walking into this bar, and I don't care if you guys follow me or not. And it ended up being the greatest decision of the entire trip, because when we walked in, I get inside and I look out. I'm buying my first beer, and Designful is outside, and I'm like, "That's Design." I was
tell them your interaction with him. Yeah, tell them.
It was great. It was fantastic. So Design walks up, and I go, "Hey man, I don't know if you remember me." And before I can finish my sentence, he goes, "Shut the fuck up!" And he like daps me up, and he's like, "What's up, man? How are you doing?" I was like, "I'm doing good. I'm doing great." I was like, hey, man, I really enjoyed having you on the show. You were one of my favorite interviews. You mind if I get a picture with you? He's like, for sure. So I hand the phone to my fiance. One of the GMB boys, Kyle, is behind her while she's taking the picture. Now, Kyle's watched Designful a lot, like one of his favorite Apex guys, but he's never met him at all, never talked to him, never interacted with him whatsoever. Me and Design are taking the picture. You know, I got the peace signs up, like we're taking the pic. And in the middle of the picture, Design just flips Kyle off. Like, he just looks straight in his eye, flips him off, and just starts laughing. And then Kyle just starts laughing. They dap each other up. They've never met. They don't know each other. Design just flipped him off. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And then I just talked to Design the whole night. He was having a good time. And so I don't want to leak anything, so I'm not going to say anything more. But it was Design's a guy. He's a good guy. So there was that, and then as me and Chris were in this bar, there was they had a live band, and it was awesome. They were playing straight bangers. Now, at one point, there was this guy who just decided he was going to stand on the stage and stage dive directly into everybody. He just wanted to jump into everybody, and he does it. Chris blocked
It's not a very
him
tall
off.
stage, by the way, too. Like,
It's a very small
He
stage.
had to jump for a ton of air if he did that. I wasn't there at this moment, but that stage was like a foot high. So he would have had to literally leap on top of people. That's fucked.
Yeah, so he tries to just dive in, and Chris blocks him off, and then the guy tries to fight Chris. His friends hold him back. They kick him out of the bar, whatever. Enoch comes probably a couple hours later, and at this point, me and Chris are in one. And apparently Chris described this entire situation only using Apex terms. Like, he walked up and he was like, this guy tried to rev jump on me and I Newcastle walled him off. And he's just using like all of these Apex terms to describe a very simple situation he could have described with regular terms. But that's just the GMB boys. That's just how we roll.
And he told that story like a couple times.
He said it 3 times.
That sounds about right.
I was there too.
It was a couple times he was telling me the story, and each time I was like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "What?"
It's like a kid telling a story, bro. It's just like, "Oh my god, no way!"
I mean, that whole event afterwards, like, because I didn't show up there till like 1, and like you guys were just out of it.
We were in one.
I wish there's one video. Should we put the clip of like Wyatt dancing? Because honestly, that
I'll
shit
put it
is
in.
probably my favorite thing I've ever watched. I'm so glad we had it. We were dancing for one moment. Like Jay wanted to leave. I was like, but Wyatt's been begging me to dance. I haven't drank that much to like be in that mood. But I was like, I'll do it. When am I gonna get to be dancing on Bourbon Street with the boys? So I get out there. And the funny thing is we're all vibing and stuff like that, but Wyatt just does what his body wants to do.
Yeah.
And so everything
No
was
control.
everything was kind of good until like you started hitting one move. I look over at Ange and I'm like, what is he doing? She's like, I got no fucking idea. And we're just killing ourselves laughing. And then I hear the guy with the mic going, don't worry about what other people think. Just dance. I'm like, wait, is he watching us and like casting us right now? Because like I also heard before like him saying like, yeah, I get it, do so. And I didn't know he was talking about us. And then after he started like, I realized he was talking about us when we started laughing about you were doing some like leg kick thing like out like.
Dude, I don't even know what I was doing.
Who
If you guys
knows
have
with
the
Wyatt,
video,
honestly.
send it to me.
Yeah,
Because
I wish I
don't
had
think
it on
have
video. No, you just got low and like you started like got your leg out and it looked like you were like a dog like doing the fire hydrant piss.
That's my number one thing when I really don't know what to do with my body on the dance floor is I just start shimmying like this a lot and then I start kicking legs out. So it's like, it's just kind of a thing that I do. But it was
a vibe.
it was great. We met a lot of people. It just happened to be the Apex bar, I guess. Like because Slayer walked in, talked to Slayer a little bit. Nasky walked in. I had Design
Blinkster
who
was there. Vane,
Vane was
McLovin.
there. Basically, all 9 lines.
I met
was there.
this guy Zeto. Everyone was there.
Yeah.
I saw. I think it was Nags. I saw walk in. Everyone was there.
Yeah, it was a great time. It was great. I wish Dawn was there, but Dawn was chilling.
We're not going to talk about that story.
For Dawn. No, it was great. It was a great time overall. Everything was perfect, and I do want to take some time to shout out all the listeners who walked up and said hello, and said what's up. There was another cool story too. Obviously this is like Enoch's first event. We had to go back to change shirts because obviously we had the debacle with the beignet. So we're changing the shirts. We get all the way back over there, and we step out of the Uber, and I just hear in the line, he's like, "Is that Enoch? Enoch! Enoch!" And then Enoch, he waves at him. He looks at me. He's like, "That was cool." I was like, "You're gonna get a lot more of that. Like, there's gonna be a lot more." And it was awesome to meet everybody, take pictures. Just talking with all the listeners and knowing that, what we do, people really enjoy and they listen to and they have a good time and it gets them through their work week. It always feels great, man. So I just wanted to shout out the listeners. It was awesome. There was a moment where I had left the venue and I showed up at this random Buffalo Bills bar. Don't know why it was Buffalo Bills, but we walked inside and immediately there was like a table of listeners that are like, "Oh, that's Wyatt." And I came up and we talked Apex for literally 45 minutes. Like it's just one of those surreal experiences where, I'm just recording this in my garage right now, but for you guys to go out there, listen to it and say what's up. It was awesome, man. So I just want to shout you guys out.
No, absolutely. There was a ton of people. I was absolutely surprised and like in a happy way because like again like sometimes we do this and it's hard. Like we obviously have the comments, but like you can't tell like how much you're connecting with people. And everyone that came up to me was like, "Love what you guys do on the pod," and that was pretty crazy for how many people came up. I was like, wow, that it shows that it means something. Like, and yeah, shout out those people. There's some people who are so excited to see us, which is like, I feel like a random normal dude. So I see these people get that excited. It's like shocking, but it feels cool to know that like we're doing a lot here for the community. And I hope we get another NA LAN next year because that's where we get to meet most of you guys.
Yeah,
always,
that's where we get to do it. Also, somebody shouted out the throw. So shout
that
out
was
to
like
listener.
that's what I'm saying. There was the guy that shouted out the throw, like which is from our zombies podcast. Like what? Like that was
no. I mean,
crazy.
we talked about
about it a lot. We did,
like,
but I also feel like it's in heart to heart. So like I don't know how many people get to heart and sit through our entire conversation about zombies. So like the fact that a guy brought that up like from months ago, and like the way he goes, he's like, "Yo, Wyatt," like he's asking us both for a picture and everything like that, and then he's like, "Nice throw, by the way." And me and Wyatt are like. Wyatt's kind of like, thanks, right? We don't know what he's talking about exactly. And he goes, in zombies, or he's like in transit, and we're like, he fucking brought up the throw. Oh my god,
Yeah,
the throw.
no. And the cool thing too was I had like a couple listeners walk up, and they like I'm not the type of guy where I just like take a picture and walk away. I want to ask you like what your team, like what team you're rooting for. I want to ask you like what you think about the event, all this different kind of stuff. I ended up sitting with 3 or 4 listeners on Saturday. I was just sitting with them. I was like, you can sit, like, just sit right here and let's just watch it together. Like, fuck it. Like, yeah, like that's my favorite part. So it was awesome, man. Dawn, E, do you guys have anything you guys wanted to round it out with before we close out the show?
I mean, yeah, just basically thank you guys for everything. I mean, I was even getting people excited to see me, which is wild since I'm still not used to this shit yet. But no, it was just a great time. I mean, obviously working with the boys now over at Omit, and then just on a personal side with like the 160 team guides, like I had a ton of people saying thank you for doing that, and even had the casters sign a card and say thank you for the work and everything that got put into that. And it was kind of funny. There was a running joke when I was watching main stage that every time they even referenced something that might have resembled the guides, I would just like, yep, that's the guides. That's the guides. Mm-hmm. But it's like, it's a joke kind of, but like, it's just cool to see the work being appreciated, because that's really what we all do, you know, at the end of the day, is trying to put out content that people enjoy, whether that's just a fan or ends up being the casters or whoever and ends up finding the content useful. So yeah, just really appreciative of what this year has been from LA to now. And yeah, just big shout out to you three too for the support of everything and doing all this. And yeah, just shout out to everybody else that listens and likes what we have to offer. So thank you.
Hell yeah, baby. E.
Yeah, I mean, like, just I'd never practiced my Enoch signature, and so definitely might have to do a little bit more of that for like the next time. But it was just like pretty like surreal, just having like so many different people like come up and talk to me and just be like excited to meet me and like wanted me to like, I signed a controller, a couple shirts, some posters, and just like the fact that like people like wanted that is like pretty crazy to me. And I'm just glad that I can have like a positive impact on some people out there. Cause like, I understand that especially in the Apex community, I'm not everybody's favorite streamer. But the fact that there are people out there that I am is pretty cool.
Yeah, man. It was awesome. It was a great event. Shout out to the Open. Awesome having all the boys there. Awesome being able to watch all that and hang out with everybody. And for the first time ever, we got the Apex the podcast in person. So shout out to all the boys for making and pulling through. Ladies and gents, I was
actually going to quickly say too, because I feel like we didn't mention it. Like, even shout out, we had all the friends there. Like we had like the whole GMB boys out there. Mm-hmm. Then like obviously Connor, who I honestly
Moore,
I don't listen to. Moore was there. I'm trying to think like you know, like it was pretty cool because like, you know, we've spent so much time on Discord, and me, because of my time zone in East Coast, like I feel like I even miss out on talking with some of these guys, right? Like I don't get to talk to Brian that often, and I hear all these stories about Brian, how much you guys beef with him, and then like Brian was kind of a vibe the entire week. He tried to get under my skin a few times and pull this Brian shit that you guys talk about, but unfortunately he failed miserably because the Leafs were doing good. And then like other times he tried to take shots at me, like wrong, like you're still talking about the wrong thing, Brian. So like, yeah, like, you know, that was just a vibe. And then we talked about so many of the listeners and supporters, but also there was a lot of like pro players, or like competitors in the scene that came up to me and were like, yo, love your videos, love what you do, and came up and brought up the pod. And I was like, that's always fucking cool too. Cause like sometimes I think these guys don't give a shit about what I do, but when they come up constantly and they're all hyped out about that, it's always sick to see. So love the NA lands for that. Cause you know, I get to see all these people sometimes at like the international ones, but the NA ones are special because it feels like we get everyone around there. So yeah.
No, it was awesome, man. There was one of my one of the guys who came with us, one of my coworkers, Matt,
Jay, we also forgot to mention Jay, sorry, because I said GMB boys, and then I said Connor Moore and forgot Jay.
I forgot to say Jay too.
Yeah, well, Jay's like kind of, he's in there, you know?
Yeah, to be fair, I see Jay like every single time we stay together and everything like that, so Jay knows he gets a shout out, but I know Jay wants a specific shout out, so here you are, Jay.
Shout out, Jay.
Shout out, Jay.
Shout out, Jay. It was cool because you mentioned the players. We were leaving, heading back. We were in the line at TSA, and Matt asked Guild for a picture, and Guild was like, "Are you the guy from the podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, dude. We need to get you back on. We didn't have video the last time we had you on. We got to ask about your controller and how if you drop it 5 inches from the table, you got to get a new one." And he was like, "Yeah, for sure." I was like, "Hell yeah, baby." So we'll try to get Guild back on. Shout out Guild. Well, ladies and gents, that should just about do it for this week's episode of the Apex the Podcast. Once again, shout out to Apex Legends for being the best game, and shout out to the ALGS for being the best league. It was awesome. The Open was great, and hopefully have a lot more awesome events like that coming up in the future. We got 2 more coming throughout the year, so we're gonna be locked on all Apex stuff moving forward. Shout out to everybody who said what's up. Shout out to everybody who said what's up, said hello, and thank you guys for tuning in and listening. As always, we will catch you guys next week for another episode of the Apex the Podcast. See ya.